Welcome to the April 17th, 2023 regular business board meeting of the Lower Merion Board of School Directors. The board believes it's in its best interest and the best interest of the students of the district to hear comments from district residents. An opportunity will be given later in the meeting for public comment, both in person and through the chat feature, which will be read by Ms. Brooks. This meeting is being live streamed and video recorded with sound for public broadcast. All participants joining via the webinar will need to use the chat feature, which will be enabled during audience recognition. We're going to start this evening with a comment from the superintendent.
Good evening, everyone. I wanted to start this evening acknowledging the situation that I've been communicating about at Ballackinwood Middle School. And while I had some prepared remarks, I think they largely track what I've already communicated to you. And because I know what's important to me is that people feel better. And I know that you don't. And I know that I'm going to continue to try to communicate, and my team and the people at this table want the community to feel better and to heal as a result of what has happened. And I know that what I have been saying hasn't been tremendously comforting for everyone. I hear that, I feel that, and I think about it constantly, about how I can be a better communicator, how as a district we can do this better. Because in this moment, I'm hoping everyone at this table would acknowledge, when I took this acting position, one of the first things I said is, the things that keep me up at night are not honestly the things that we are often talking about at this table. It's about where our kids are right now. We have survived a pandemic. We are in a much different place than we were 4 or 5 years ago. We have kids that have 24/7 access to technology. We have not coached them properly as a community, as parents. I'm a parent. I know I'm not doing a great job with my own kids on this. And we have to do it better as a school system, because that's what everyone expects us to do, fairly or unfairly. That's what we're asked to do every day, is be better and do everything. And I think everyone here wants us to do those things, and I want to do those things, because I think public education is so critical right now that it scares me to think that we can't do this better together. And I can tell you, I have met with every family that's directly involved in this, and they want to do better, they want to see improvement, and they come wanting us to help solve this problem for you and for everyone, and especially for kids. It is so critical at this time that whether I'm in this seat or someone else, that we can call upon the community and do it in a way that honors the voices out there, that honors the voices in our classroom, that honors our staff that work alongside and with our kids every day and see and experience what's going on firsthand. And I get that I'm not saying the right things right now, but I desperately want to, and I desperately want to work with you, and this entire board wants to work with you, and this entire administration and staff wants to work with you, and we need to do it better for our kids. And I am so sorry that this happened. There are devastated families involved in this, and I wish I could change that. And I'm sorry I can't, but I commit to you that I want this to be better, and I want to hear and make sure that we're addressing your needs and that we're as transparent as we can be moving forward, because I think that's the only way we're going to do this, is together. And I think there are external partners that we can work with to do this better. I think there's a lot of things that I want us to explore and move forward with, so that we try to avoid this happening again, and seek to find that grace that we need for the children that are in this moment experiencing this. And again, I could tell you everything that I've already told you, but I wanted you to hear that, because that is That is what I'm feeling, and I know that it's important that you hear that piece too. So I know we're here to listen tonight, and we're here to continue to listen to you so that we can figure out where our kids are and how to help them as best we can.
Thank you, Ms. Schaefer. On the behalf of the board, I want to start by thanking Ms. Schaefer. I think that you very much spoke from your heart, and an acknowledgement or just an understanding that we as a board take the safety of our schools and our community very seriously, and understand that a piece of that, or a big piece of that, is the mental health and wellness of not only of our students, but our community as a whole. You know, there are a lot of expectations on what the schools need to be doing and should be doing, but we are just a microcosm of a larger community. And these are conversations that we need to be having at school, but we also need to be having them in our own homes and in our communities and with our neighbors. And I think that that's a really important piece to all of this. And along with that is a dialogue, right? That we need to find ways to work together and dialogue as a community to talk about what we can share and what we can't share, and what's appropriate, and what work is being done in the schools. And in addition to that, you know, what additional work can we be doing in the schools, right? And I think that that's is such an important job of why we're here and what we're trying to do.
Thank you, and I just want to echo the sentiments and appreciation for you, Ms. Schaefer, from sharing from your heart around these issues, and also just drive home and reiterate in some of the areas, whether it be around the ad hoc committee on anti-racism, or the work that we've done around just with curriculum and the MTSS, and really looking at the social and emotional well-being of our students, and recognizing that all of those issues are issues that we must embrace as a community. And so not only creating space within the school district to make sure that the environment is supportive of our children, but also that we as parents, as members of this broader community, are also making sure that we're doing our part, right, to really embed these values in our children, and making sure that they are protected at all times. And so I just want to thank you for sharing your feelings and your thoughts, but then also resonating and also echoing you, Lucy, in terms of making sure that we're embracing this as a larger school community and broader community.
Thank you, Mr. Mooring. I noticed that we have some students here, and we've been trying to offer up, if students want to speak, do their audience recognition prior to the presentation, because I know we have a presentation around transportation that I'm actually looking forward to, because I find it I do actually find this presentation quite interesting. But I wanted to offer if there were any students that wanted to speak now to provide that opportunity. Ms. LaPera?
Sure.
Go ahead, Willa.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, let me make sure I can hear everybody. I'm Willa Godfrey. I'm a junior at Lower Merion High School, and I'm the vice president of our environmental club. Today is Monday, the 17th of April, and in 5 days, it will be Earth Day. I'm sure I don't have to tell you what that is, but it's basically a day to raise awareness on the urgency of protecting our planet. For me, every day is Earth Day, and I know that's very cheesy, but not a day goes by where us students from Grow Oakwell aren't planning and doing all that we can to provide preservation to Oakwell. It's now month number 8 of us students coming here. Environmental activism is extremely valuable because these ecosystems need a voice. And best said from an article written in Baldwin's student newspaper, Oakwell Estate's uncertain future is being saved piece by piece, and the people moving this boulder of a project are high school students. The thing is, yes, we are pushing this boulder, but we cannot get this boulder up the hill without action from you guys. I really would like to ask to just be transparent with the developments happening and host collaborative meetings with us. We're getting a little bit tired of empty promises and being excluded from the conversation, though we have met with you guys and it has been great, but just definitely more follow through. Yesterday, we all went to Oakwell for a bio blitz. I see lots of faces here that attended, where scientists and environmentalists gathered and identified an incredible 400 plus species and counting, which has included specialist bees, fascinating beetles. Guys, we cannot live without thriving ecosystems like these. The district has a lot of struggles right now, as we just mentioned, and I know that it's kind of a dark time, but I want to share something positive because something that happened yesterday was great. We used the diverse green space of Oakwell for the type of programming you guys need in this district. Hands-on project-based learning with incredible community connections. Check out the project for yourselves on iNaturalist if any of you guys have accounts. Just look at the project Oakwell Biodiversity. And if you go on the Grow Oakwell website, you'll see what that looks like too. But we're showing you what you can give to your students using this amazing place that you own. Look at the leadership your own students and community are providing. You'll be astounded at what we were able to do with just a few hours of collaborative work on a Sunday afternoon. The possibilities for learning here are endless. I've said that before, but we just need to understand that and take action more. I cannot really repeat myself any more than that our demands really haven't changed because they haven't really been met. And meeting with you guys in the past has been really great, but the follow through on what we guys ask of you guys is not enough. Providing preservation to Oakwell is absolutely urgent, and we cannot push this more into the corner. Let's work together and really get some things done because we want it and you want what's best for the students, clearly. Thank you.
Thank you, Willa.
Hi, my name is Noah Four. I'm a senior at Lower Merion High School. Let's see what else. I'm 17 years old. I'm the president of the environmental club at LM, and I live in Merion Station. So this is kind of a little bit of a somber, sweet moment for me because I do graduate in like a month, kind of. But so yesterday I worked pretty much all day, and I did miss most of the bio blitz, but when I ran over to Oakwell, I was there for the last little bit of a picnic that we held. And as I was running past Dr. Bennett's house into the beautiful field full of trees and blossoming flowers that hopefully will not be turned into fields, I saw all my friends, all my peers, and even my siblings sitting down on the grass, looking out into the nature, into the fields, into the trees, and they were sitting together, making flower necklaces, and I just thought I'd share that with you guys because I think it was a really wholesome moment for me, and it really painted a picture of what we could have. I mean, these were all students that go to Lower Merion High School, and then there was Greta, who goes to Merion Elementary, and it was really cute to see her too. But I'm still really pushing for this, and I do appreciate what you said about, you know, the struggles that we're going through, and I mean, there's a lot of hard stuff that we need to overcome as, I guess, things that are going on in our society and just systemically, you know, things to overcome. But I think it's also very important to look at the positives and the things that can significantly brighten our community, and I do still truly feel that Oakwell is one of them. We found out, like Willa said, there's over 400 species living in Oakwell.
And counting.
And counting, and counting. That's just from one day of people coming together. Last Friday was a Honk for Oakwell protest that was a little different than the average. Due to, you know, kind of what we've been doing, we've been heard all the way at Villanova, and a bus full of Villanova students were inspired and wanted to join us in the movement. I mean, we're talking college students, and I thought that was really important. Now, a little background of what I've been doing the past month. This week is Earth Week in the Environmental Club, and we're very ecstatic, but I'm also starting to get started on my senior project. And my dream kind of for that was to sit around a table with you guys and implement the Acorns proposal. But unfortunately, I feel like there's been a little bit of a lack of communication between us, and I wasn't sure how feasible that was. So I'm making a documentary, which I'm still very excited to put together, and I'd love for you guys to see it. However, I do still really think that this is a possibility. We still have not heard back with the list of all the available fields that you guys looked into in the past, so unfortunately we can't talk on that, we can't look back on that and take that into account. However, we think there's many possibilities both within education, hands-on sports, community. I mean, we just had a whole bio blitz and we had a picnic, and we thought that was very important. And I kind of wanted to touch on one final thing that's a little more specific to our school. I guess I'll come back next month then. But thank you.
Thank you, Noah.
I just want to do a quick response to your request about the fields that we've looked at. We did present that as part of a larger presentation we did a few weeks ago. It's been maybe a month now, but I'll make sure we get that to you. Okay?
Do you want? Our student representatives to the board can do their student meetings. Ms. Wu, if you want to represent Lower Merion?
Hi, good evening, everyone. So I'll just start off. On March 27th, the Lower Merion Technology Student Association, or TSA, demonstrated their commitment to community outreach by volunteering at Girls STEM Night. The event aimed to inspire girls in grades 4 through 6 to pursue their interests in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Additionally, the LMTSA has proven their skills in regional competitions, and we will be representing our state in an upcoming competition after our successful performance. Along with LMTSA, Lower Merion's high school's first robotics team, Dogma, and the robot Hertz has recently achieved notable accomplishments. Their hard work and collaboration with other teams during competitions have led them to a 7th place finish and then a 3rd place finish in the first Mid-Atlantic District qualifying events. Furthermore, the team has been recognized for their outstanding community outreach work, receiving the first Impact Award in honor of their efforts to promote STEM education. Likewise, like Dogma and TSA, the Science Olympiad team is preparing for their nationals competition in May, showcasing their diligence and commitment to excellence. Along with them, the Student Activists for Greater Equality, or SAGE, recently hosted a conference with a special virtual appearance from Governor Josh Shapiro. Together with Harriton, LM held activist workshops for many students from both the high schools, empowering students to become agents of change. The Lower Merion Environmental Club is currently hosting a Green Week, showcasing their commitment to sustainability, and also for Earth Day. The week will feature a variety of events, including crafts, activities, movies, and more. In addition to them, in athletics, Lower Merion High School's senior lacrosse midfielder Avery Bickle has been recognized as the Mainline Girls Athlete of the Week by PA Prep Live for her strong start to the spring season. Finally, as AP exams approach, students are actively preparing, and seniors are eagerly anticipating their senior project season. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wu. Ms. Simmons?
Good evening, everyone. As we approach the end of the school year, Harriton is just as busy as ever. On April 12th, 11th grade Power students, in combination with Lmsb students, visited Howard and had a chance to explore the National Museum of African American History and Culture. Harriton recently collaborated on a school-wide quilting project to create connections throughout the school community and to showcase Black History Month quilters, and in particular, Faith Ringgold and BHG's quilters. On April 11th, Harriton SAGE members participated in a joint SAGE conference held at LM. On April 15th, Harriton hosted junior prom with a Back to the 80s theme, which was a great success. Harriton Build On recently went on a trip to Malawi to help build a school in a rural community. And individual Harriton students have accomplished just as much lately. Public Forum debate team of juniors Rachel Harmon and Lauren Bruner qualified to move on to the NCFL national competition in Louisville, Kentucky, in addition to seniors Rose Weathers and Veko Toika, who won the state title in parliamentary debate. 2 Harriton students were recognized in the 2023 Scholastic Art and Writing Awards. Willis Salmonson won a gold medal for a piece called The Circus Arrives, and Michaela Kumar earned 2 silver medals, one for Silk Road and another for Mother Nature's Hotline. Looking to the future, HTC, or Harriton Theater Company, presents the spring musical She Loves Me this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. As always, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. We'll let the students go head back to their studying, and I'll turn it back over for our presentation for the evening.
All right, tonight's presentation is the long-awaited transportation update from Mr. Aldous Vilsons, who's our supervisor of transportation here in Lower Merion School District. We have been talking a lot about transportation over the last few months as it's connected to healthy start times and how we're able to navigate that and the reasons why we need certain times when we have certain times or enough time between tiers. So I'm happy to have Mr. Vilsons here this evening to give us a more complete picture of our transportation system here in Lower Merion School District. So Take it away. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Uldis Vilcinch. I'm Supervisor of Transportation for the district. After the emotional beginning of this meeting, I kind of feel a little bit out of place, but my presentation was scheduled a long time ago, so bear with me. If nothing else, if you find the topic boring, I have a little bit of something in my throat, so my daughter says I sound like a Dracula, so at least maybe you will find that entertaining. First, I want to thank our school board for ongoing support for transportation department. When we ask for buses, for technology or buses, we always get a support and financing for it. When we hire new drivers, when we interview new drivers, we always ask, how did you find out about us and why do you want to work for Lower Merion? And many of them know Lower Merion is a good school district, but one of the reasons they mention is, we saw your buses. They are new and they are clean and they look good. So that's important for us, and that's thank you to school board for that support. I also want to take this opportunity to thank all the staff in transportation department. We have around 150 staff members that transport students or support transportation, drivers, school bus aides, mechanics, office staff, supervisors. They are very hardworking people, but mainly what I appreciate from them, they care about students we transport, and that is the most important part for me. That means I can trust them. Transportation department was the first department that came back after COVID. While public schools were still virtual, non-public schools started attending in person, so we came back. Our drivers transported. We have all kind of safety measures, but it was almost like a first responders or first type of people that are very much exposed at that time. I also want to thank the routing department, who's put a lot of work looking at different healthy bell time, start time scenarios. We have been through a lot of them over the years. They have put thousands of hours analyzing data and at the same time doing their daily work. They have spent nights and weekends working on the start time data and scenarios. A little bit about transportation eligibility. Pennsylvania does not require school districts to provide transportation services for regular education students. That is somewhat unknown fact. The only state mandated transportation are services for students with individual education program and charter school students. If district chooses to provide transportation services for regular education students, the district is required by the state to provide like services for non-public school students located within the district boundaries or outside the district boundaries at a distance not exceeding 10 miles by the nearest public highway. Transportation eligibility. The state law allows school district to ask school students to walk 1.5 miles to the bus stop. District policy has 0.75 miles for elementary school students and 1 mile for secondary school. For secondary school students. Many students who reside within a legal walking distance still receive a transportation services because they would have to walk on the roads that would be considered hazardous for walking. Some are PennDOT certified hazardous, and some, as a district, we feel they are not fit for walking. This is just a map. I know it's just an illustration. It's really hard to see. I'll zoom in a little bit, but the green are the roads that are hazardous, so students can walk on them. And there's just one small part of the township. I have to zoom that much in to have colors, because if I zoom out, the colors disappear. The red are the blocked roads where we can't send a bus. If you see there is one area with the purple, that's both blocked and hazardous. The small yellow squares, those are roads with a weight or height requirements. So certain buses, we have different weights for buses, or certain bridges, certain roads have low bridges that we can go overpasses that we can go under. Transportation eligibility. As a district, we are required to accommodate non-public school calendars and bell times that in majority cases do not align with district calendars. So as a result, we're managing about 130 plus calendars for different schools and early dismissals for same amount of schools. Every non-public school is eligible for same amount of early dismissals as we provide to public school students. Families that share 50-50 custody are eligible or entitled to transportation to both parent residences. If both parents reside in a district, and currently we have 372 split custody families and 183 families utilize this service. These students basically have seats on 2 buses. They have ability to go to one parent's house or another parent's house. For high schoolers, they can just choose themselves which bus they're gonna take every day. Elementary, we have to manage calendars when they go to each parent's house. The drivers check the calendars or a school staff assist us. For middle school, it's a mix depending on an age and requirement. It's either calendar or student can independently decide. State and federal regulations allow school students to be transported 3 per school bus seat. Again, district policy is different different. We allow 3 per elementary school bus, but for middle school and high school bus, we allow 2 students per seat. So on a 72 passenger bus, we could only seat 48 students. That would be every seat taken. Currently, we transport about 8,730 students every day to school and back, 7,728 public school students and 1,002 non-public school students. Current public school enrollment is 8,535. Again, these numbers change daily, so they may be different next time you look at them. In our database, we have 2,576 non-public school students that are technically eligible for transportation if they decide to request it. There is a form on website, Act 372 form that they complete to request the transportation. Our operational area includes 5 county metropolitan areas, so currently we go to 141 schools. Again, this number changes. There are some schools with just 1 or 2 students. 42 schools are located in the district and 99 schools are located outside of district. 11 public schools, 87 non-public schools, 42 special needs schools, and 1 charter school. For the illustration, I mentioned that non-public school students can go 10 miles outside of district boundaries. The light blue area, that's 10 miles outside of a district boundaries. That's how far we go out of district. And outside, you can still see some schools. Those are specialized schools that we also transport to, so we go pretty far out in some instances. Public school ridership since 13-14, as you can see, when we got to the COVID, it dropped, but it's coming back up. Our fleet consists of 135 buses, 37 diesel, 72 passenger buses, 59 compressed natural gas buses. That's our pride of our fleet. District has had it for many years, more than 20 years, one of the first districts in the country that have a CNG fleet. CNG buses, fuel is renewable. They are very clean, and we have been recognized by many organizations for our CNG fleet and for environmental standpoint. We have 9 wheelchair lift buses, 28 30-passenger buses, and 2 20-passenger buses. On this slide, I often are asked why we do not use 9-passenger vehicles. We do, but they mostly are contracted vehicles. There is limitations. School vehicle is 9 passengers plus driver. So the school vehicle could transport maximum 9 students. But as you can see, the school vehicle doesn't have the red amber lights. It doesn't have a stop arm. So it can't legally control traffic. So it can't stop, and by law, you have to stop it. If you just stop and turn on the hazards on a 9-passenger vehicle, people will go around you. People may not even notice you. And so it wouldn't be a good vehicle to pick up students on busy roads, especially Montgomery Avenue or large number of roads in a Lower Merion School District. The way the school bus works, we have a school bus stop at a corner. The school bus comes to the corner, activates red lights, stops all the traffic. There's 9, 7, 10, sometimes 16 students from area that all come to that one location, and they board a bus. If we would have to pick up 9 students in that area, we would have to go to each student's house, and we would have the ability to go either in cul-de-sac or in their get off the road or pull off the road before we could board or disembark students. And that's very difficult. So it's used mostly for special needs and for smaller 1 or 2 student transportation situations. And currently we contract these vehicles out. We have 151 vehicles that provide daily home-to-school transportation. 103 routes are district buses, and the rest of them are contracted, those smaller vehicles that I referred to. It's vans, minivans, sedans. 28 vehicles provide 53 shuttle buses to 70 non-public schools. I will illustrate our non-public school shuttle transfer system in the next slide, one of the next slides. 17 vehicles provide 22 shuttle routes to ride at school. That's a ride at school students, kindergartners at AM or PM. We take them in morning on buses with elementary kids. AM kindergartners going to school. PM kindergartners we transport then to ride at school here in DAO, and we do that in afternoon in reverse. We take the PM kindergartners back to ride at school and bring the AM's kids to the back to the school and ride to school. See, it's so confusing that it's even hard to explain for me. But it's a quiet arrangement that requires a lot of oversight because those are kindergartners. One vehicle provides 3 routes between non-public and public schools for special services. Those are students that may be attending non-public school but qualify for certain services in a public school that they can't access in non-public school. 7 vehicles provide routes between public schools for different programs. We have students that are advanced in math, and we take them from elementary school to middle school for math, and then transport back to elementary school. And we have different other programs like that. 23 vehicles provide 37 midday routes daily. 10 vehicles provide, the 37 midday runs are mostly kindergarten routes because we have AM, PM kindergartners. We take AM kindergartners home, bus turns around, picks up PM kindergartners, takes them in the school. 10 vehicles provide 33 routes to 11 community work program sites daily. Those are students that learn life skills, and we take them to hospitals, grocery stores, and they work with a job coach to master the work. 6 vehicles provide 7 routes to 2 technical high school program sites. I will touch on that on the next slide. 6 vehicles service 6 elementary after-school routes for programs and clubs daily. When the elementary bus at the end of the day finishes their run, it comes back to the school and then picks up students that stayed later for a reading or math program and then take them home. We provide 20 late buses. Very few districts anymore provide late buses. We provide 20 of them, and we run 2 times, 20 buses, and they run at 4:30 and 5:40 p.m. For middle school and high school. We also have 5 vehicles that provide special needs late runs, which basically duplicate the regular late runs, but those are students that may need special equipment or bus with certain requirements. We do over 1,000 field trips and sports activity trips a year, well over 1,000, many requiring multiple buses. Special routes home for Black Rock middle school students participating in sports in Penman attendance area. We don't take them back to the Gladwin, we take them home because they are already in their home area. Central Mankato Technical High School, CMTHS. That is one of the challenges that we're going to have to figure out with the new bell times, because currently Lower Merion High School students actually get picked up by Harriton buses because Harriton buses cover the whole district, and they go to the Harriton, and at 7:10 they depart from Harriton together with the Harriton students to CMTHS morning program and arrive there at 7:35. At 9:50, Harriton students are picked up and brought back from CMTHS at 10:12, and accordingly Lower Merion students at 10:26. Then the midday bus pickup at 10:55 and at Lower Merion, and 11:10 at Harriton High School, and take the students, PM students, to CMTHS. CMTHS has AM and PM program. 2 buses then pick up CMTHS students at 2:15 and drop them at home. I can also note that when there is a testing day at high schools, it becomes a challenge because Lower Merion High School students ride on a Harriton buses, so we have to, for that week or 4 days, we have to find for them seats on a Lower Merion bus that they can go in for testing, and then after that week we go back to the normal schedule. I mentioned that we operate shuttle system, transfer shuttle system. Best comparison or closest comparison is probably airlines. When you don't fly anymore directly, but you go through the hub, it's not always convenient, but airlines do that because it's efficient. As you know, I mentioned we have 143 schools, so we wouldn't have a bus for every school. It allows us to pick up students across the district, bring them to the transfer points, and then they can get combined on the buses to their schools. It's very efficient way to transport non-public schools, and really, honestly, only way we can accommodate it. The only major difference between our shuttle system and airlines is that airlines set their times, where non-public schools tell us their times, and we have to route based on their requirements. We have to make sure student gets to school on time. This is just a kind of chart how that looks. Student is at home. They take a transfer bus from their stop at 6:15. This is Delaware County Christian. They come to the transfer point. At 7:30, they leave a transfer point. They have a short layover. They leave a transfer point and go to their school. Shuttle bus takes them to school. In the afternoon, the same process happens in reverse. We come to the school, pick the students, bring them to the shuttle point. They transfer to their home bus, and we take them home. We have personnel stationed at every transfer point to make sure to assist students with transferring buses, and because there are some very young students transferring buses. This is our current transfer system schedule. In AM, we have 2 transfers at Carrollton, 7:10, 7:35. We have 7:25 at Penn Valley and 7:50 at Merion. In afternoon, we go down to 2 transfer points, 3:30, 4:45 at Carrollton, and 3:30, 4:10 at Ballackinwood. There are some public students that also go through the transfer system. There are Lower Merion students that have an attendance area exception. So we take them from Lower Merion to from the schools they attend. From Carrollton, we take them to Black Rock or Welsh Valley, where they get on the middle school buses to go home. Early, when we looked at the healthy start times, shuttle system was a big challenge for us, because whenever we would change our times, it would really mess up everything. Over last couple of years, we have been trying to separate the non-public students rode in with Carrollton students to the shuttle. We kind of separated it out, redesigned our system a little bit, that if we change our times, that it doesn't impact, doesn't throw out all the shuttle system. We operate 3-tier transportation system. That is the most efficient system to operate. And in a secondary swap, that would be still 3-tier transportation system. And just the time between the tiers is slightly different. Overall, it's 10 minutes more between tier time. Just to explain, when it looks like we have 40 minutes in the morning, we truly don't have 40 minutes, because we can't bring the students to school. High school students can be at school 7:30 if their class bell rings at 7:30. We have to get them there at least 10 minutes before the school start time, so they can walk to the classrooms, they can get a breakfast. Same as middle school and same as elementary school. The same we're gonna have to do with the secondary swap. We still have to get there 10 minutes before, so it's really effectively 30 minutes of actual driving students. In the afternoon, currently, high schools go first. Every high school has this chart. Every high school has this chart. They provide it to students. They post it. This is how our buses line up in afternoon. They start lining up around 1:30 for 2:40 bell times. So when the students come out of the high school, they know where to go, which way is their bus. They don't have to walk around, look for a bus. They know exactly where it is. This is Carrollton High School lineup. Same thing, just a different type of lineup. Again, they know where they have to be. So accordingly, based on the schedule, Carrollton High School dismisses, buses are scheduled to leave at 2:47 and Lower Merion buses at 2:46. There's no window. They load and they all leave at the same time. It takes a little bit of time for them to get out of a school, but they are scheduled to leave at the same time. That doesn't happen at middle school and elementary levels. So as you can see that Black Rock Middle School, we start the first bus is scheduled to be there, depart at 3:10, but then last bus is scheduled to depart at 3:29. As you can see, that bus probably not going to be on time, may not be able to do, the last bus at least, may not be able to do Gladwin Elementary School, because they would have to be there 3:41 in that time. So there is staggered departure, and then they staggeredly arrive at the elementary school. So the elementary and middle school, they really can't board all at the same time. There is supervision required, because we have to get the students on the correct buses. Otherwise, it becomes a disaster. Middle school first tier, now going with middle school being first tier, lineup and simultaneous boarding will not be possible. We may be line up at Black Rock, we may line up at Welsh Valley. BC will be a little bit trickier, but they won't be able to board simultaneously, even if we have all buses there, because they have to make sure that they announce a bus, that students that are high schoolers are more independent. They know their bus. Middle school is very wide range. So they announce a bus 55 is here, then they make a last call for bus 55 to make sure everyone is boarded. So middle school going first, it's gonna take us longer than a high school takes right now. High school second tier, high schools will take longer too, because now the middle school buses will not be at high school lined up like I saw your charts. They will be coming in one at a time, and based on the traffic, they're not gonna be probably in a particular order. So high school's gonna have to work up a new boarding system, and probably will require more supervision, because right now the kids are out of school and on a bus and gone in 7 minutes. It's gonna take longer for them to board buses, so they're gonna have to be more campus aides probably, and more supervision telling which bus has arrived and directing students. Again, this is very small font, I apologize, but bus seating capacity utilization. Sometimes I hear people saying, well, I saw your bus with 4 kids only or 5 kids on it. I looked through the list of buses. We have very few buses that may have, as I said, most of our buses do 5, 6 runs. So like they do 3 runs in the morning, 3 in the afternoon. If you look at a bus 4, Lower Merion High School, 59 students, we can only really seat 48. So we over assigning number of students, assuming that some of them won't show up. They may drive as friends and everything. Same with Welsh Valley, we have an extra student on there assigned because we over-assigning students. Welsh Valley in the afternoon, it's 51 students assigned, and 59 are assigned to the Lower Merion High School. The next bus is 72 passenger bus, but it has a lower ridership. But it's 30, then 48 students, then 14, and then 34. Really, I have to use 72 passenger bus because you remember that only 2 per seat in a certain level, so 30 passenger bus can accommodate only 15 students. So the only really tier I could use a smaller bus would be 14 kids that go to Suburban and CMT-NHS. Another example of adding more, this is around 43. You can see we have 17 students assigned to Lower Merion High School, and 70 in the afternoon, 59, 77 assigned, and 80 in the afternoon. We can only accommodate 48 at best. And so we over-assign, and that way we make up for students that not riding. And as we go through as we start school year, sometimes we over-assign and we realize there are too many students on the bus. So we look at the bus loads and we try to even it out and make sure that we try to stay within 2 per seat. Here you will see on bus 59, there is one part of a run with 5 students. I could use a 9-passenger van for it, but it's not gonna open me bus. This is a Kinwood to ride at school. So bus took 46 kids to Kinwood Elementary. Then they taking 5 kindergartners to ride at school. That bus most likely is based here at DAO. So it's actually taking them away back to the location. And that time, all my buses are pretty much open by 9 o'clock. Here is another example. This is a Harriton bus that has 63 kids, but Harriton has attendance area is a whole district. And some of the Harriton buses are no way can they do middle school. So this bus have very little time before they have to go to Gladwin, but they can do the shuttle to Holy Child and transport 3 students. But as you can see, rest of the bus is 54, 63. So it's, again, we fully utilizing the capacity. Bus 22, here is another 3 students. That's a split custody situation. We taking students. They may not even ride every day, But again, this is Harrington bus that can't make it to middle school, so whatever little time in between they have, we utilize for something else. And this is Belmont Hills Ride at School. That's a scenario I described to you before, where we just turn around and we already done, all the buses are open, it's just the kids going to the ride at school. As you probably heard, we experiencing driver shortage, not just we, that's a nationwide driver shortage. Sometimes I hear suggestions, you can just use some drivers from police and fire. I would be glad to use them, but they are not really certified to drive a school bus. I would have to put them through the 6 to 8 week training to get them ready to drive a school bus. First, they would have to go through physical examination. Then they will have to go through the pre-employment annual and random drag testing. Then they have to be checked in FMCSA clearinghouse. That's a new requirement the last 3 years. We have to run all the same background checks that are run for school employees. Even if they may have a background check from somewhere else, we have to run our own background check for specifically for a district. So most drivers that would have a commercial driver's license, that's most popular. But in order to drive a bus, you need P endorsement, which is passenger endorsement. You need air brakes endorsement. We use air brakes on our buses, and that special endorsement, you have to pass a knowledge test. Same for P, you have to pass a knowledge test. And S endorsement, which is most important, that's an endorsement to drive a school bus. That endorsement requires 14 hours in classroom and 6 hours in bus. As a district, we do 100+ hours with those drivers when they're new drivers before we put them to drive your kids. 6 hours is not enough to drive a bus, and especially in Lower Merion with our roads, with Montgomery Avenue, where you're playing game of inches when they're driving next to semis. So all these, we have SEPTA drivers, and then they are wonderful drivers, but when they come to us, they only have a passenger endorsement. They do not have air brakes, and they do not have S endorsement. So they have to go through the training for air brakes and classroom, and we have to retrain it, to be honest. They are great drivers, but SEPTA's approach is different. They want them to stay out of trouble. They want to stay there and drive. And if there is issue, call 911 or call the dispatch. Where our drivers, we ask, you have to learn students' names. You have to know your students. You have to know, you have to build a relationship with them, because that's going to help you with having good discipline on the bus. It's a whole different approach, and we have to retrain SEPTA drivers that you just can't be, I'm just here to drive. That's not school bus drivers can't say that. That's not acceptable. Then they have to, after they have these endorsements and pass a knowledge test, they have to do PennDOT road test. Many drivers fail it at the first time because it's a very difficult test. And of course they try to trick you. And for example, if bus touches a curb, it's automatic failure. And it's really hard to drive a bus not touching a curb, I can assure you. Then we have to teach them township and surrounding roads to all these schools outside the township. So we don't want to put a driver out there with MapQuest map and say, well, okay, well, I'm driving at night or anything. We take our time and teach them the route. Before they pick up your children, they know the route. So when they get children, they know where they're going. They know where they're going. Not happening in a lot of contractors and districts. The new drivers wind up doing the runs with the run sheets. We always make sure that our trainers are comfortable with the driver driving students. And I have told my trainers, please make sure that you feel safe about them. And we also have spare drivers that go out of them. Experienced drivers also provide me with their opinion when they're ready. Some people need less training, some people need more training, but we want to make sure that everyone gets enough sufficient training. Then they have to recertify every 4 years. So you have to do the computer test, get your endorsement test, and then you have to go on a in-bus evaluation with a trainer. So that happens every 4 years to refresh their skills. Again, they have to take them on difficult roads and make sure, and that you can fail too, and then you have to redo it if you hit the curb or anything like that. All that gets documented and sent to PennDOT. And on top of it, it's very challenging job. It's not for everyone. You have to have a good interpersonal skills. We're not transporting cargo, we're transporting people, children. Patience is a must. They have to understand that we teach drivers different disabilities. They have to understand how students with disabilities, how to work with them, because we have students with disabilities even on the big buses, so we have to make sure the drivers are trained in that. And they also always must still concentrate on the driving. I found somewhere the T-shirt where babysitter, nurse, counselor, friend, mentor, truant officer, driver, teacher, referee. Of course, it's exaggerated, but it's close to that. It's also, students get car sick and things happen. Driver is responsible to clean it up. When they get to the school, they call custodian. That's their job. Every bus buys a state-mandated bus bodily fluid cleanup kit, and we have pretty much cleaned up every fluid in that kit. Driver's schedule, that's another challenge when you're looking for people. Not everyone is ready for a split shift work. So this is a regular, first on the left side, it's a regular driver that doesn't do any extra work late runs or midday. They just come in and do AM and PM run. They have to start at 6:30 AM. They are done by 9:30. Then they are off the clock. They come back at 1:30 and work until 4:30 to 5 p.m. So that's really becomes 10-hour day with about 6-7 hours paid time. So that's why many drivers decide to pick up extra work either in between, if middays, but those are very in demand, and senior drivers get them. Many of our drivers are working cafeteria and recess aides during the day to substitute their income. That way they don't have to, and there are people who like the split shift. They go to gym, they go home, take care of the elderly parent or dogs, or, I mean, it's different people, different shifts, but for many people this shift is difficult. Now we go to late run driver. They start same time, they clock out in the morning about same time, depending on the run. They come back at 1:30, but they work until 6:30 to 7 p.m. That's when they come back and clock out. That's 12-hour day with about 8-9 hours paid time. So, and it's not always, often people think, well, driver just gets in a bus and you just drive, and you in a warm bus with the heat and dry. First of all, in the winter, it probably takes like 40 minutes for that big monster to warm up. And secondly, the drivers, when they arrive every morning, depending, no matter what weather, storm, lightning, whatever, they have to do pre-trip. It's 15-minute check of the bus. They have to check every tire. They have to check every light. They have to walk around the bus. They have to check fluids on the bus. It could be raining. It could be snow. It could be very cold. It could be very hot. They have to do that pre-trip. Then afterwards, they have to get off the bus and do the post-trip, which is a little bit quicker, but still they have to make sure that when they drove, there's nothing on the bus. And when they come back at 1:30, they have to do it all over again because bus has been parked. They have to check engine oil, fluids, everything, lights, and then go on the road. And at the end of the day, they do another post-trip. Student discipline, I just wanted to mention this because when I read national newspapers about drivers' retention and industry publications, student discipline is mentioned as one of the issues for drivers' retention. It's really difficult. It's seems to be getting harder and harder with the discipline situations on the buses. And I also always want to remind, because this is what driver sees. That's how they see the students. They sit with their back to them and they drive and they look at the road. We're busy roads. The student safety is the first. So sometimes parents say, well, how did the driver didn't see that my kid's backpack was moved to another seat? Well, they most of the time they drive, they check. It's a student mirror, they have to check it. But also, there could be elementary kids on that bus. You're not going to see them because seat height is higher than elementary kids. Maybe some of you may see top of their heads. Same as middle school, you just see top of the students' heads. So it's very difficult for driver to drive. It's very difficult township to drive. We have situations where the kids roll out with a bike right on the front of a bus and driver has to stop immediately. So it's a pretty difficult job to manage students. And there could be 70 elementary kids on that bus and the driver's alone. We have times when things are thrown at drivers, which is very dangerous. And we also, I want to mention, our drivers always are sticklers for asking students to sit in their seats. Some parents get upset because they feel that we not limiting the students, why they can't stand up if they want it. It's a safety issue. School buses don't have seat belts. They are compartmentalized. The seat in front of a student is a padded seat. So it's safe if they sit in the seat. If they stand or they are in the aisle, they're going to fly across the bus if there is braking or, God forbid, accident. So drivers are very strict about saying for students to sit in their seats, and sometimes it's upset students and parents, but that's what we have to do. With the healthy start times, this is just a kind of list of all the issues that we're going to have to find the resolutions when we implement the new start times. They are all solvable situations. Having another year will give us a little bit more time to figure out the solutions or find the solutions for all these. This is basically a list. I'm not going to go over every item, but after school programs, late runs, they're going to go later. So drivers, they getting longer again. After school programs, we'll have to figure out how to transport split custody. Shuttle system I mentioned for Lower Merion kids that attend Harrington, that falls apart because now middle school goes first, so that's going to have to be reconfigured. So there's a lot of things that we're going to have to work with schools on the boarding buses and everything, but that's all we can find a solution for pretty much all of it. Okay, I'm done with my presentation, so if there are any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Filsons. Ms. Kalish?
Thank you, Mr. Filsons, and because Mr. Lill would be so disappointed if I did not. First, I want to acknowledge that we recently hired 2 new bus drivers, which I think is fantastic, and we are hiring bus drivers in our district. If anybody wants to get a CDL with a school certification, we will train you to do that. We just raised our pay for bus drivers. There's a $4,000 sign-on bonus. So if you or anybody you know, anybody that's watching at home wants to drive a bus for Lower Merion, it's obviously a really important, really worthwhile thing. I know it is the thing that my little kid loves maybe the best in his day. So that's my pitch. I wanted to ask about those nine passenger, you know what I mean. I can't get the phrase out for some reason. I understand that we contract those out. Are those vehicles that we would still require things like a bus driver certification and a CDL to drive those? Or what would the certification differences be?
They don't require CDL. They do require all the clearances and background checks that we do and random drag testing, but to drive a 9-passenger van, or they call it school vehicle, as opposed to school bus, you do not need a CDL.
So is that also part of why we don't hire that particular role, because that's not a higher standard that we want to have hired in our district, or is that something different?
No, that's not, I'll be honest, right now, if I can hire a person, I will train them into CDL because we have buses that's sitting and not being driven right now. If we're able to reach all the if we have full staffing, we can discuss about creating new category driver and take some work away from contractors and put it under training. But even then, I probably would have a CDL just for a flexibility that I can switch them from a van to the big
So
bus.
it's basically just a utilization thing where most any other route that we would look to hire somebody to drive one of those 9-passenger vans would be one of these partial midday routes that would already be covered by a free bus that we have.
Yes, currently they do mostly runs with 1, 2, 3 students, and many times these students are required, they have a nurse, they may have a bus aide or 2 even, and there are limitations. Some students are not allowed, have to ride alone due to their medical condition or different,
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, so there's different requirements and we use for them, but we don't really have a van with 9 passengers right now because I'll be honest with you, those vans are tight. If I'm gonna put 9 kids that close, my disciplinary problems will just gonna go through the roof.
I've driven a 15-passenger van with a bus full of teenage girls when I was a camp counselor, so yes, I feel that pain as well. Thank you for answering my questions.
And that's a good point because there used to be 15-passenger vans available, but they are illegal in Pennsylvania because they are high and there were turnovers, so there is 10 million penalty if you use it for transporting school students. Not, you personally can do it, but as a district, we can't.
This was when I was 22, but also they always want the radio.
Ms. Garrison?
Thank you for the presentation. I do have a couple of questions regarding the bus drivers. You sort of alluded to this in your presentation. With the change in the school start time, will the bus drivers have a longer day?
Yeah, because it goes later in the afternoon. Right now, it extends about half an hour. So, and late runs will be later. So it's going to be longer day. It's not going to be particularly more hours. It's just going to be probably a little bit more time in between.
Okay.
Can I ask a follow-up? But won't they be starting later?
Oh. well,
It's specific to your question.
Oh.
Yes, we're starting later, but it's our non-public schools still will go regular time, so the mix of schools, so we still, special needs, out of district will still, so nobody, a lot of them will still gonna have to start, yeah, they may start a little bit later, but just a few of them.
Okay. Are they compensated with overtime?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, every time they work over 40 hours they are. Our drivers are very well compensated and it's not a piece work they get, if they get stuck even in the traffic.
So what's the annual salary?
It's hourly rate.
Oh, it's hourly.
Hourly rate, it's 25 to 30, starting is $25 and $30 is top rate.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask the question that I expected you to ask, Ms. Garrison. Mr. Wilsons, you mentioned that some of our drivers will work as cafeteria aides and recess aides in between. I'm curious if, off the top of your head, and that's not a fair question, if you know what % of them do that? And then also, is there a process in place that if a driver wanted to do that maybe they get a step up in hiring for those positions, or if there's a process that sort of makes it easier for them to apply to those positions?
They don't really have to apply. We actually, we not only department that struggles with staffing, so there is more work than we can provide drivers. Because like I said, not everyone, there are drivers who have midday commitments, so they're not gonna work. But everyone who wants to work, and we even have some that go daily, the ones that don't have any other extra work, and then our drivers who can choose, today I can go, tomorrow I can go. We're doing everything to accommodate them and make a fuller day out of it.
And just to add that could change a bit when we move to full-day kindergarten, because we won't have those midday runs that currently have.
Do we cover their clearances? Do we pay for them, or do they have to pay for them themselves?
School, no, we don't pay for clearances. Everyone in district, I believe, pays for their own clearances.
Oh, well, if we provided that, we might be able to attract more people.
I'm not against it, but again, that's outside of my...
Mr. Lee?
Thank you. Could you go to slide 19? Okay. Thanks. So some of the questions that people have are the extension of the gap between tiers, especially at the end of the day. So that's actually not my question. I have a sort of a nuance to that. But if you could talk to why that is, but more specifically, could we go to slide 23?
Yep.
Okay, so the nominal end of day for elementary school is 3:35. The proposal that's out right now ends that at 4:05. But if I'm looking at the scheduled departure time, the actual window of time is much, it's bigger. So if you look at, Penn Valley goes from 3:38 to 4:05 currently. So even though the nominal dismissal time is 3:35, the kids actually aren't getting on buses, some of them, until 4:05. Do you expect that window to be the same length on a 4:05 dismissal time?
It's going to be close to that. It's going to be close to that.
Extending, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
No,
extending the gap between each tier, like currently it's 25 minutes, 30 minutes, it's going to 40 minutes and 35 minutes. That extension is not going to shorten that load time?
It will. Actually, to be correct, it will, because more buses will be there for the dismissal time.
Okay.
But there will still be, it's hard for me to estimate, because the elementary bus takes 3 to 5 minutes to board each bus, so it will be different for different schools too. Penn Valley and Gladwin are bigger, they have more buses, it's more time to load, where Belmont Hills is really fairly quick to load. So it will be better in that sense, that when more buses will be in place when the students are coming out. I don't know if I'm explaining it correctly.
Yeah, so your best educated guess, because the gap between tiers and the proposed plan is bigger, you would expect this load time window to be a little bit smaller?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, a little bit smaller. We'll try to make it as small as we can, but like I mentioned, we have to work with schools, with the boarding procedures. Can we improve anything there?
Okay.
Because the kids are not really ready. If right now, this is current one. If Bell brings a 3:35, they're not ready until at 3:40 anyway, because they have to get to the gym where they are, or any other location school. Then they are sorted by the bus, kindergartners and everything, making sure that they are getting, and then when the buses arrive, they bring them out to bus. So right now, sometimes there are gaps. When the buses arrive, then there is gap maybe where they have to wait. I expect there will be very little gaps for it, so it's gonna go smoother. But to put a time on it, it's very hard, because it's all different time in the day when we're going now. But I expect it to be a little bit shorter, yes.
Okay, great, thank you.
Mr. Filson, something else to take into consideration, those elementary schools have a limited amount of space to stack buses. So if you have some elementary schools with a small bus loop, having all those buses there won't fit if they all show up at the same time.
Thank you.
Ms. Chirac?
Okay, thank you so much. First, I just want to thank you for the presentation and modeling the comprehensive nature of bringing us into the problem, knowing where we are with the vote and having over a year to plan. It's so helpful to have this level of detail to then truly partner as a community and with the team to move forward. So just want to thank you. A few questions that I had were, in the ridership slide, and you mentioned the number of people as ridership. Is that actual ridership or who's signed up?
Who is assigned to the bus? Yeah,
Okay.
it's not an actual ridership because we assign, like, it can be 80 kids on a high school bus. No parent will allow us that we're gonna get a call. So it's actual number of students assigned. Ridership changes every day almost. It's different seasons. On the snow days, it grows because parents don't want them to use their cars and things like that. So it fluctuates, even with the sports seasons, or high schoolers, they may have a friend with a car, then they may not have a friend with a car, and that's all. It's really unstable, but we kind of over years know which buses, which areas ride more, which ride less, and we have kind of adjusted that way. But we always have to make adjustments at the beginning of a year.
And I guess along those lines, I'm wondering if there are specific, and this might be too farther down the field, but if there are specific data points, even some that you have presented tonight, that you're hoping to gather information around that could help inform some additional solutions to the past. So like with ridership and the variability, are there ways in which you're thinking of starting to gather data points on that now with enough time to then bake those into the solution?
I'm very limited to, we gonna gather information, we do our best, but at this point, I'm not really, I can't ask parents, you're gonna use the bus or not. It's not they can tell me, but I don't, in a mass way. If the parent tells us they're not gonna ride the bus, we remove the student from a bus. But the situation with that is that there's nothing stopping parent in the 2 days calling back to me and say, I need my kid on a bus, and I have to provide that bus. I have to provide a seat. So we're gonna gather the data, but my data wouldn't be, like, it would be more district-wide type of thing that may have to be done. I know we talked about opting in, opting out, all those options. Although, honestly, I haven't really, and if you know anybody, I haven't found a district who successfully implemented opting in or out at this point. I talked to my colleagues, some of them tried, some have tried to pay stipends in some western part in Pennsylvania, but that's kind of falls apart because they're not able to really, not to transport if people change their minds.
And would there be flexibility? I know you said you've gotten to a point that you've separated non-public school option ridership or routes from our classic routes. Would there be ways that, or are you thinking about ways to actually use the non-public school routes and the transfer stations to help support some options, particularly for elementary families, as transportation for other options at school?
We will consider everything once we have a final. 5 minutes change so much in the whole scheme. So once, I know there's time set, but they have still some conditions attached to it. Once we have final options, we're gonna take a look. And honestly, we had separated the driver shortage. We have integrated more non-pubs on our buses just because we're dealing with driver shortage. Just to give you an idea, we started year with 111 runs, that's what we needed, but due to driver shortage, to avoid canceling runs for some students, we're running 103 runs right now. They are tighter, there are more kids on the runs, but, so yeah, it definitely will look at every option, but we really need, and with like opting in and opting out, like if that would be next year, I need to know now because our routing team already routing for next year. We already, in our software, we graduated kids to the next grade. They already there. We building runs. We adding kids as they come in registration. I mean, they're gonna start coming in more closer to summer, but we already building runs. So if I find out in August that somebody, or July, or even June, that somebody not gonna ride, I already have that run. I can't do anything. And in September, I can't do major changes because it changes everyone's times. We already do a lot of changes September. Anything major changes family times, and we try to give them somewhat stability visit times as much as possible.
Again, I just want to underscore and thank you, Ian, for your leadership and being willing to have the conversation, because you do such a great job, and us being able to like ask all of these questions, and your partnership really matters in us solving this complex problem. So thank you.
Thank you, and I want to say thank you to you, to the board and administration, and to public. I get a lot of questions from public. I appreciate that you're trying to understand when you're making decisions, because I know there are some districts where decisions are made without listening to transportation, and that means a lot. I appreciate that you, I'm sure over the last few years you have learned more about transportation than you ever wanted to learn, but I appreciate that. I appreciate that you're trying to understand before making major decisions, and trusting me to some extent that we do have efficient system and that we need certain parameters to operate successfully.
Ms. Schaffmeister?
Adding to that, yeah, I want to make sure that you and your team has the support that you need for such the important, complicated process that you're handling that affects just almost every child in this school district, whether they go here or not. And and right now, what I'm looking at as we're thinking about from our facilities and purchasing meeting on Friday, and we are asking the board tonight to approve the with TransFinder to help input some of the routes for next year in this new system that you're migrating. And I have to admit, I was on YouTube all weekend watching webinars and stuff about TransFinder, and learned a lot about the system. And now I want to ensure that we are doing everything we can to support you in doing it, because this is a powerful AI-built system that is going to be able to do a lot more than I even thought about. So looking at each child as a record, you're able to put as many user finder variables in as you can that you can define, codes in based on stop times so each student has that variable, and I know they do talk about they're looking for the knowledge, the local knowledge, which to me says code for we need it, you put this stuff in yourself. But I want to ensure that we're using it to the full capacity that we have to help to assist you, so you're not having to do as much of the hard lift every day. And I'm wondering, where are you at in this migration over to the new Route Finder system? And can we assist you any more with a support for getting all the right variables and using the best practices to get the best, to do it correctly, so that we have a really good system when we come out on the other side?
I appreciate that, and like I said, I really appreciate you learning so much about TransFinder. Maybe I can get you sometimes come out and do some routes for us. But
tomorrow too soon?
But I really appreciate. I definitely will ask board if I need anything at this point. We're relatively in the beginning of the process. We transferring routes in, we're adjusting maps. Board already approved a significant amount of training that comes with the system. So there may be down the road where we may want to ask you for something, but right now, that's what we need. We need a little bit of help to input the routes that we can start really working in the system more. And we're going to have there were questions in the facilities, we're going to have all the routes in TransFinder, and our plan is to start next year in the TransFinder. Our summer run still will be in our old software, but that's September we're planning to start with a TransFinder. And it's more even than that, codes for a stop. I mean, honestly, our routing team is very detail-oriented. And I want to caution you, their AI is, I'm sure, good. There is a lot of things there, but it's still the advertisement. And it's not everything is, after the facilities meeting, there was asked about the policies, that they can recommend policies. I reached out to the person that I'm working, and I said, hey, what can you, give me examples what you can implement. Well, he said, well, 2-tier system, we have suggested 3-tier system for that, because a lot of districts run 2-tier system and it's not efficient. You can save a lot of buses if you go to 3-tier system. Then a couple other things, but I said, can you give me any names on the districts of Pennsylvania that have implemented any of your recommendations. At this point, he hasn't responded. So it's good software. We searched it. Our neighboring districts use it, but it's a little bit of an advertising type of thing. And there are also the level of complexity we're doing is amazingly more than many districts, with the late runs, with CMTHS, with the shuttle. It's not every district does. When we started working with them, they told me, I asked them about calendars because we manage calendars, as I mentioned. They said, why do you need 130 different calendars? I said, because we have non-pubs. Don't your non-pubs follow district calendars? I said, no. See, in New York State, they do follow district calendars. Non-pubs in Pennsylvania are very, very specific, special. Many districts, like many other states, don't have it. And there is a lot, like state report in Pennsylvania is different. So they actually, often their trainer had to go back to their experts and come back to our routing team with answers. And they, like I said, we're going to take a full advantage. We have a lot of plans down the road. Because this, once we implement, but we have to take a step at a time. Once we implement, we're gonna have a lot of plans. I don't want to scare Vic because they cost money, but.
Yeah, so that makes sense. I mean, from what they were said a lot, they wanted user input so they can make it the best system, or what, best, that's a little bit, but make the system better to meet the needs of their clients. So hopefully they're taking your input and will be incorporating some of these suggestions. I also was wondering, did we get Wayfinder for our bus drivers?
We will. That would work if we have tablets. I'm asking Vic to see if we can get a tablets and a pilot program for tablets to kind of test the concept. Then that would be Wayfinder. Yeah, that would have two purposes. First of all, it would help the drivers with directions. They have verbal directions. They don't have to look at the paper. Other thing is we use a lot of paper for our routes because every time a student comes on or off the bus, we have to reprint the whole roster where a route changes. So this would all be tablet, but we're gonna, again, I don't know the district that has successfully implemented yet tablets in Pennsylvania, but we're going to work hard on it. But we first want to get the software up and running. We want to make sure we are where we are now, and then we're going to start building on the advanced features.
Yeah, because I was seeing that, so I was reading that a lot of districts are starting to take attendance on the bus, and that would be a way to get some of the data points of what, not only what ridership is as opposed to sign versus.
Although, again, you have to be very careful with that because there are even some districts in Pennsylvania that just use different system. It gets tricky. Students switch those systems are based on the student having a near proximity card or barcode, and they switch them up sometimes. So then you almost have to have a picture of the student.
Well, that's
it also extends the boarding time because they where is my pass? Oh no, I don't know. So it would have to be, that's why we can't jump in these things.
Yeah.
We're gonna address it. It's like methodical. We're gonna have to address it. Maybe it could be same card as library and lunch card, then they most likely have it. But that's all it's all a lot of policy decisions involved in that. But we looking at all that, and I will be definitely asking board for a lot of support coming down. But right now, I think for this period of time, we have what we need. If you approve my last request, that's for approval tonight.
Yeah, and I would put a request in as a well, I'm not a parent anymore here, but as a former parent, like having an app like the Stop Finder parent app would be great because when the bus is getting close to you, you can set the stop so you know how long you take to walk down to your bus stop, and it might help be more efficient. Also, they were showing that you can opt out, and they said the way it works is that it compiles runs the night before, and then it makes it more efficient for the next day for the driver if they have Wayfinder too, if they're not having to go to all the stops. So I mean, those are things that we can optimize.
Yeah, it's a great system, but at the same time, we have to make sure that every parent then checks their times, because if we're going to get to somebody's stop early, they're not going to be there and are going to get called. Right? So that whole system changes the whole dynamic in the district. So we would have to parents would almost have to check night before, hey, what time is my stop? And right now, they forget to check for September, and they get on a bus that they used last year at the same time. And so technology is there, but we're gonna have to take it step by step. I want that app badly. We use different app right now, but we depend on driver letting us know when they run late. It's still popular app, but yeah, that would be the next. All the technology is out there, but we would just have to be very careful how we implement it.
Right.
Also, with a 3-tier system, if bus runs late, the system needs to know if the bus may come in your area 3 times for high school, for middle school, for elementary. The system needs to know which kids are on the bus at that time. So
Yeah, I remember our old system, no matter what tier it was, you'd get a late notice regardless of whether it applied to you or not.
Yeah. So yeah, we definitely. I love technology. My background is technology before transportation. I love it. We have added cameras, radios, predictive stop arms over years. So we're doing everything to make it efficient and also safe. Safety is our number 1 reason. Whatever decision we have to make, we always make sure that it's safe.
Yeah, okay. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Perfect. I wanted to go back sort of to the beginning, and I guess it was on slide 3, around the walk zones. So we already know that our policy is a little bit stricter than what the state law says, and that we do provide transportation for 3/4 of a mile for elementary and a mile for secondary students. And I guess I'm very focused on this idea of the hazardous routes. Thank you for adding in that map. And I note that that there's already 3,000 students that are sort of within that legal area, within the area of the policy, but still get busing because it's considered hazardous. And that's almost 40% of our, if that's just public school students, that's almost 40% of our riders. So that's quite a bit. And so the idea of expanding our walk zones, maybe a mile or a mile and a half, different on level, would that provide more? Would that make a big impact on the number of kids who are busing? Or are there so many hazardous routes sort of in the area that that's not going to make much of a difference?
It would make a difference, but not big impact. Let's put it that way. There are a couple areas where we probably would be. It's really hard to do that, reverse it on the parents who have received transportation. I'm going to be called names after that, but it would not make a big impact. Even take the Harrington Road, you can walk on it, so everyone in the Harrington is on a bus. So there are small packets and areas, but we're talking maybe about, well, again, I don't want to put the numbers out there, but I'll leave it at that. It's a small impact. It won't make a major difference.
Thank you. All right, well, thank you so much, Mr. Vilsons, for your time and your energy. And I also want to thank you. I don't know if anyone who's here or is watching has ever seen Mr. Vilsons drive your own kid's school bus, but he has, especially during the height of our bus driver shortage, he has been known to hop on a bus and cover a route. So not only are you great at this part of it, but really appreciate that you really do step in wherever needed. So thank you.
All our supervisors drive, actually, all of them at times, but lately we've been driving a little bit less because we are doing a little bit better with the drivers. Thank you to the board for changing pay schedule.
Yeah.
Thank you, and sorry for taking up so long.
Not at all. Thank you so much. Terrific, great. So we're going to move on to our next agenda item, which is the committee meeting reports. Our students already presented their reports and went home to study. So we'll move on to the March 29th Communications Committee report. Mr. Lee.
Thank you. At the last Communications Committee meeting, we received updates from the District Communications Department on the following items. Translation services for school messenger communications are fully implemented, and school staff know how to have school communications translated for our ELD students and families. The Communications team has started rolling out DEIB building blocks videos in collaboration with Ms. James Coles. These are video interviews of students at Harriton High School and Lower Merion High School discussing issues and challenges around building belonging. The series will continue with staff at Penguin as the next community to be interviewed. Work on expansion and updates to the inclusivity and belonging pages on the LMSD website continues and are expected to go live this month. Communication efforts in progress on student superintendent search and start times process. Communication response to the recent OCR complaints against the district alleging that district affinity programs discriminate against white students and boys. LMSG strongly disagrees with these characterizations, and the OCR has not advised the district whether it will proceed with the complaints. The communications team is working with our solicitor for a disclaimer that can be added on recorded Zoom meetings where consultants will be presenting proprietary content. For example, Dr. Jean Stanley's presentation on how LMSD supports LGBTQ+ and transgender students. There was an update on the SAGE conference planned for April 11th. That Ms. Wu and Ms. Simmons referenced earlier. This is, SAGE stands for Students Advocating for General Equality. This was a student-organized event, and the governor was one of the guest speakers. We received an update on expected content for the upcoming community newsletter, and received an update on the status of the new lmsd.org app, expected to roll out this summer with the ability for users to personalize content and personalize subscriptions. As well, the meeting actually was actually a very well-attended meeting for a communications committee meeting, which usually has 0. So there were a number of community members in attendance, and there was a very thoughtful group discussion on the OCR complaints and overall district communication strategy, especially with regard to incident response. The recording is actually available on the website. I invite anyone who's interested in viewing to please view that recording. I thought it was a very, very, it was a good two-way conversation between the community and the board and Ms. Schaefer. The next communications committee meeting will be on May 31st, 2023 at 7 p.m. Thanks.
Thank you very much. The next committee report is the March 29th Curriculum Committee meeting report. Ms. Kalish.
Thank you. The April meeting of the Communications Committee was held March 29th to accommodate spring break. The meeting centered around an in-depth presentation on the result of the district's equity study. No? Sorry, I thought people were looking at me with questions. The study began late 2020 with primary focus areas including curriculum and instruction and pedagogy, professional learning and staff diversity and hiring. It had a 12-member advisory group consisting of parents, educators, counselors, board members, and community leaders. The professional development module consisted of a document review, district-wide teacher, student, and caregiver surveys, and administrator focus groups. Findings included a need for strong relationships with colleagues to have productive conversations around DEIB, a preference for concrete lessons and strategies, a need for consistency and longevity for depth of learning. Recommendations included personalization by grade and content area and an intersectional approach to professional development. The curriculum instruction and pedagogy module consisted of a review of district curriculum using a scorecard, district-wide teacher, student, and caregiver survey, and classroom observations. Many students, though fewer secondary students of color, feel that their classroom environments reflect a variety of cultures and experiences. Many students say they read texts by authors from diverse backgrounds and identities. Recommendations include culturally responsive curriculum review tools, providing opportunity for community feedback on review, a review of materials on bias, aid and practical guidance for teachers on community and family relationships, and continuation to build organizational infrastructure. The workforce diversity and hiring module consisted of an HR document review, focus groups with BIPOC educators and administrators about hiring and onboarding, interviews with the HR team, and an educator survey for those who participated on hiring committees. Findings included LMSD has a higher rate of staff of color than the state, but not high enough to be proportional with the population. A general agreement that we need more diverse staff. The district using a lot of strategies to recruit candidates of color, but encountering external issues that can impact recruitment. The district does intentionally screen hires with equity skills, including using specific interview questions for all candidates. Feelings of isolation can affect educators of color and their retention. BIPOC educators described feeling an added burden from district staff and families to promote equity efforts and represent students of color. Recommendations include increased support and transparency in hiring, equity work shared by all staff members, early support and onboarding of staff of color, and professional development opportunities for BIPOC educators. As information is coming through to light throughout the study, the administration has been working to address issues as they come up and not just waiting for a full report at the end. Work is ongoing, including developing an applicant guide. After a district-wide landscape scan, recommendations included a district-wide alignment of the DEIB approach, implementations of recommendations from other sections, and providing an opportunity to connect in meaningful ways with all families, especially our emergent bilingual population. The next meeting of the Curriculum Committee will be May 3rd at 8:30 a.m. in this room.
Thank you, Ms. Kalish. I just wanted to also add that the presentation around this study will be done at the May 8th meeting? Yeah, so.
I knew it was one of those, I just didn't have the date, so I didn't include it in my report. It's coming up soon.
Thank you. And Ms. Schaefer is going to do a brief policy committee update for us.
Yes, thank you. At the last policy committee meeting, which was held March 31st, I believe, which was our April meeting. A couple items that were reviewed for second readings, which are presented to the board this evening. In particular, policy 114, individualized student supports and services, was revised, as was policy 124 and its related administrative regulation around extracurricular and co-curricular activities. Those were revised and approved subject to a resolution agreement with the Office for Civil Rights. The additional item that is being approved or being recommended for approval for as a second reading is the policy 136, home education, and its related administrative regulation, and that was revised pursuant to changes in the Pennsylvania School Code related to home education programs. As a first reading, the policy committee considered a revision to the policy and administrative regulation 235, which is student rights and responsibilities, to incorporate policy 246, which is discriminatory harassment, bullying, and hazing, so that 235 reflects all of those behavior expectations and consequences under one policy. We will, as that moves forward, ensure that the community and parents and students are aware of that transition and where to look for that information. Also, we are excited to move forward our revised student wellness policy and administrative regulation, which was revamped to address more holistically the idea of student wellness, which was previously defined pretty narrowly based on compliance standards around nutrition and physical activity. So we are moving forward as a committee. We have our wellness committee working on this together with a subcommittee, writing committee, to expand the definition and ensure that it reflects how we think much more holistically about student wellness today in Lower Merion School District. And then finally, as administrative regulations, there are some revisions to our technology administrative regulations, particularly around cybersecurity. Mr. Frazier presented in great detail the needs to make those revisions so that we ensure that our student data privacy and staff's privacy is safe and secure as much as possible here in the district. And then finally, we looked at the regulation related to assignment of students within the district and the district's ability to maintain the authorization to assign students outside of their home school so that we can maintain target class sizes. We started this program a while ago, and it's been in place for, I don't know, 8 to 9 years now as a way to manage the enrollment growth. And we use it very sparingly now, but it is a helpful ability for us to do that. Particularly, this happens a lot after the school year has started, and our need, and once we've locked in section numbers across buildings, to be able to ensure that rather than overcrowd certain classrooms, we place a student in another school to maintain those class size guidelines. And this happens, this occurs only at the elementary level. And I believe that is it.
Thank you very much, Ms. Schaefer. And then our final committee report this evening is the April 13th Facilities and Purchasing Report. Ms. Schaffmeister?
Thank you. For the Facilities and Purchasing meeting, this is a summary of discussions and recommendations for the items included on the agenda. We recommend for approval the list of bills covering March 15th to April 11th, 2023. The purchasing report items were reviewed and recommended for approval, included the $9,750 to Johnson Controls for fire and burglar monitoring service, and this is a contract renewal for the school year 23-24, and it's pricing under a PA Marketplace DGS contract. $60,670 for a 3-year agreement with Siemens Systems for building automated system gas service monitoring, which is part of the HVAC system located in the 6 schools district-wide. We're approving the payment for, we request to approve the payment for school year 23-24 at $19,150 and locking in school years 24-25 and 25-26 with slight increases on the out years. For another 3-year agreement at $59,586 with Johnson Control for building automated system service monitoring, which is part of the HVAC located at Merion and Lower Merion High Schools. And we're approving this, we request to approve school year 23-24 at $18,354, locking in the school year 24-25 and 25-6, again with slight increases. We have a contract or agreement with Kristen O'Brien for $19,547 for school year 23-24 for district sprinkler inspection service with pricing under a PA Marketplace DGS contract. $25,557.70 to Air and Gas Technologies for CNG compressor service for school year 23-24. $41,760 to Chambers Flooring LLC to screen and finish gym floors for schools district-wide except LMHS and Kinwood for school year 23-24, and this is under a CoStar's contract. Blackrock Middle School is included, this is due to an oversight of a contract to add the BRMS logo to the gym floor at the time it was being finished. $29,206 to Lawn and Golf Supply Company, Inc. for a Sandstar 2 infield groomer, and that's under a PAE Marketplace DGS contract. This item was originally presented at our March meeting to confirm, but we had some questions raised about the meeting, and the administrators came back with the answers to our questions, and what's the questions were, can it be re-rent or lease? There's no short-term rentals available. There are lease to own, but they would be $1,500, $5,000 more to purchase. Can we use a pull-behind model? Pull-behind does not dig enough for purpose we need for fields, especially for helping expedite drying to have usable fields after a rain. Why do we need a second one? The opening of Blackrock Middle School added more fields to maintain, but the district did not add ground staff. The infield agreement will allow ground staff to maintain usable fields district-wide more efficiently and effectively. We reviewed the following district contracts and recommend for approval. Renewal of the Illuminate Education for $67,230. This is the 3rd year of the contract ending June 30th, 2024. And this is integral, this contract is integral to the district-wide MTSS or multi-tiered systems of support. Renewal of PA-ETEP agreement for $29,117. It's the 3rd year of the contract. It's used for the evaluation for professional administrators and staff. We recommended for approval the renewal of the contract with Brian Purnell for district-wide photography services at $70 an hour, not to exceed $10,150, and that's the same pricing as prior year. We recommend for approval $29,456 to Opted for a fixed-price service agreement. Opted will support the district moving all email-related exchange services from on-premises to the Microsoft Cloud. And it's imperative that we verify that our staff and student data in email is being properly secured. After the migration, Opted will provide service to identify potential gaps and make recommendations to further secure Lmsb's presence in Microsoft's cloud. We recommend for approval to Dell Technologies, $740,072.80 to purchase and set up 1,522 Chromebooks for the 23-24 school year, including Google Chrome perpetual license and Chromebook cases. We recommend for approval $18,300 for Center of Internet Security to provide CISS NetFlow intrusion detection system monitoring and analysis services. This falls under the federal program, the multi-state ISAC for K-12 education. It will scan internet traffic for protection to protect the district from malicious internet attacks. We recommend for approval $1,706,650.75 to Apple for 1,085 13-inch MacBook Air for the 23-24 school year, including for each a case, apps, deploy, and Apple Care. Apple equipment early purchases before before the start of the fiscal year in order to assure that the equipment is received prior to anticipated deployment of the devices to students and teachers in mid to late August. Apple Inc. requires a school board resolution in order to conduct prior to start of the fiscal year. We recommend for approval $17,500 to TransFinder for services to support input of morning arrival bus routes in the Route Finder Plus software. This service will assist the Transportation Department in its migration to the TransFinder Route Plus software system that we approved at our December meeting. We acknowledge the JCC's termination of the rental agreement as requested in writing by JCC. They booked our teams at the same time as another school in their system that has the first option for field usage. We would only have access Monday and Friday, which logistically will not work. We have since discovered LMHS girls softball will only have a varsity team this year. No junior varsity team, open space for Black Rock Middle School's team to play at South Ardmore Park this year. No payment had been made to JCC prior to this written notice. We recommend for approval amending professional service agreement for Black Rock Middle School between Spiesla Architect Group and Lmsb dated October 1, 2018 to increase it from $8,480 for additional work performed. These expenses were authorized on an April 8, 2020 letter for reimbursable expenses for code review of the permit plans for the new middle school by Code Inspectors, Inc., up to $25,000. The final cost of this was $13,480. $5K had already been reimbursed, which requires a net increase of $8,480 in the total composition to Spiesel. For the next two items, we do not have a quorum and ask for approval tonight. We recommend for approval the following change orders for Black Rock Middle School. Change orders 0389 for $59,107.68 to IMC. This was clearing and grubbing at Saybrook Lane. This was removed the line of dead evergreen trees that was on the other side of the fence facing the neighborhood. This is work that is part of the recommended plans for Black Rock, but not clear that it was part of the bid submitted. $125,000 change directive to Gessler to perform site restoration, landscape, and hardscaping at Black Rock, but had not been contracted with the company to complete. This is primarily will include the planting along the Saybrook line on the neighborhood side of the street as stated above, and it may include replacing trees under warranty with IMC. We also received an update on Black Rock Middle School. The remaining completion includes the science rooms with 4 temporary sinks to be replaced with acid-resistant sinks and countertops no later than early summer, track coating in June 2023. There's still remaining some corrections to the audio-visual issues, and a punch list of work is ongoing. To date, there have been $5,147,019 in total change orders on the construction project. The bulk of these change orders are resulting from four main causes: 42% for additional work related to soil excavation and site preparation, 21% omissions or errors made by professionals and subcontractors related to the building design, 15% omissions or errors made by the architectural firm in the building design, 12% requested by Lmsd. There are $2,041,578 in claims made by contractors and $565,666 in claims made by Lmsd. We're currently working to resolve through a dispute resolution process. Including all disputed claims, the total cost of is $105,961,966, which is higher than the $101,563.38 projected costs at the time of the contract award, but less than the $114,062,616 original construction estimate. Community comments at the meeting, including support for the infield groomer to maintain usable fields and that we have a need for more fields in the district and community to meet demand. Potential for optimizing bus routes with the new Route Finder Plus software. A reminder to the district to ensure use fields creatively and efficiently for schools. The next facility and purchasing meeting will be held on May 11th at 8:30 a.m. in the same room. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Schaffmeister, for the always extensive Facilities and Purchasing Committee report. Next on the agenda would be additional agenda items. We have none for this evening, so we will move on to audience recognition. At this time, we will hear public comment. If you would like to speak at tonight's meeting and have not yet signed up with Ms. LaPera, please do so now. I believe the sign-up sheet is on the back counter. For those of you joining us via the webinar, the chat feature will now be open, and you'll see a 10-minute timer appear on your screen. You can submit your comments and/or questions via the chat feature. Please be sure to begin with your full name and where you reside within the district in order for your comment to be shared. That is true for both the online chat comments and for in-person comment as well. So Ms. LaPera, can we start with the in-person comments?
Yes, thank you. Andrew Erdlin, Shapley Gregg, Abby Rubin, and then Rebecca Smolin.
Good evening. My name is Andrew Erdlin of Hangley Aaroncheck. I am counsel to the parents of a Bala Kinwood Middle School student who is named by other students on a written kill list. I have a statement drafted by our clients that I'd like to read.
Excuse me, are you a resident?
I'm appearing on behalf of the parents of a middle school student, the Bala Kinwood Middle School student. May I, Madam Chair?
Yeah, if you're not the resident, then you cannot appear here in front of the...
So respectfully, I'm counsel to the parents of a Bala Kinwood Middle School student. And given the sensitivity of the situation, and in order to protect the well-being of the student, I'm not authorized to disclose who my clients are, but I have a statement they've written that I'd like to read into the record.
Our policy is that only residents of the district are able to speak in public comment. If there's someone else that is a resident that would like to provide the statement, that is an option.
Madam Chair, respectfully, these are students whose lives were threatened, and I'm counsel to their parents. I'd like to read their statement, if you would allow me to do that. It's a one-page statement.
Okay, where are they residing?
It's Bala Kinwood Middle School students.
And what area do they reside?
Lower Merion Township. Again,
do you have? I just need their address, and then they can. You can. No. Not there. I'm going to the town. Yeah.
Get out of your own way.
Ma'am, I can't disclose their address without disclosing their identity. May I read the statement?
We didn't mean the street address, just the town in the district.
It's Bala Kinwood.
Okay. I think you should let him. I think you should let him say the statement. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Yesterday, the district confirmed in an email to parents that many of the students who created the kill list would be permitted to return to school today. As a result, our son did not attend school articulating the understandable position that he is terrified and not comfortable being in the same building with other students who have threatened to kill him in the very building that was part of the threat. The district has allowed these students to return by claiming that there was never a credible threat to our child or the school community. However, the district has offered no explanation or justification for this determination, purportedly on the basis of privacy laws. The district refuses to tell the community exactly what the threat was so that parents can decide for themselves whether they believe that their children are safe at school. Moreover, the fact that the district is allowing the responsible students to return with certain safeguards in place, such as backpack searches, contradicts its claim that the threat was never credible. Either these students pose a threat that needs to be managed, in which case the district is, under applicable law, allowed to share the details of the incident, or they don't, in which case why is there a need for backpack searches and other safeguards? The district can't have it both ways. It's obvious that text messages including, quote, "Every day I think of school shootings and hope the most people die," and quote, "I hope the following people will get shot," should be considered a credible threat. The district should reconsider its determination and share full details of the incident and investigation, at the very least with parents of children identified in the kill list, including anonymized language of the threats so that parents can decide themselves whether the threat was credible. Of greater significance is the impact that these students' return is having on our child and presumably other students as well. This incident has taken a steep emotional toll on our child, and now the district is expecting our son to attend school with students who created a kill list with his name on it. Ask yourself whether you would allow your child to be subjected to that type of emotional trauma. It is unfair and absurd that our child is the one being punished by having to continue to go to school with the kids who threatened him and put his name on a kill list. In fact, the district's decision reflects a deliberate indifference to his well-being. There is another path that the district could take that would balance the well-being and needs of both the offending students and our child. A path we understand has been taken in other, less extreme situations. The offending students could return, but to one of the other middle schools in the district. We have asked for nearly a week why this solution cannot be adopted, but the district has refused to answer this question. That's extraordinary. One moment, I'm almost finished. We have asked,
We do
so we asked the board
stop
to
the
step in.
conversation at 3 minutes.
Ma'am, these students' lives were
Thank you
threatened,
very
ma'am. May I
much.
just finish? I have one paragraph left.
Thank you very much.
It's a one-page statement.
Thank you very much.
May I finish?
We have extended our
Ma'am.
policy to allow you to speak.
I would be finished by now, respectfully.
No.
We asked the board to step in.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
We give everyone 3 minutes.
Shapley Gregg, then Abby Rubin, and Rebecca Smolin.
Thank you. I have one paragraph left, which I'm happy to have another person read.
Cannot get out of your own way.
The final paragraph is, so we asked the board.
Please share your name and where you live in the district.
Anna Stockman, I'm a Lower Merion School District parent.
We're asking for the neighborhood you live in.
The neighborhood is Penn Valley.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, your name again? Anna Stockman. So respectfully, the final paragraph written by these parents was, so we asked the board to step in to require the re-entering students in question, the students who put our child on the quote kill list, to finish the school year at another middle school in the district or through virtual learning. This request is nothing more than common sense. Please do the right thing for our child who has done nothing wrong yet continues to be victimized, first by other students, and now by a decision wholly unconcerned for his well-being or safety. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Shapley Gregg, and I reside in Bala Cynwyd. And I'm a parent of a in the district, speaking on behalf of many families, some of who are here tonight, others on Zoom, and many who were unable to attend but prepared these remarks with me. In response to Acting Superintendent's comment last Wednesday night that, quote, school shootings are rare, unquote, there were 93 school shootings with casualties in U.S. public and private and elementary and secondary schools during the 2020-2021 school year, the highest number in 20 years. This number has nearly quadrupled compared to the number recorded the previous year. This century, 70% of all school shootings are carried out by people under the age of 18. Between 2000 and 2013, the FBI studied pre-attack behaviors of active shootings in schools. One of their findings found that 88% of active shooters under the age of 17 communicated an intent to commit violence either verbally or on social media. On November 30th, 2021, at Oxford High School in Michigan, a 15-year-old opened fire, shooting 11 people. 4 students were killed and several others were left critically or seriously injured. On the morning of the shooting, one of the teachers found an alarming note he had drawn with the words, quote, blood everywhere and the thoughts won't stop, unquote. I'm representing many concerned parents, and we are asking you to please listen to and believe children, your students, who recently expressed in text messages that they think about school shootings every day and wish the most people died, and then made a list of those whom they hoped would be shot. This could be a warning sign. In addition, we are asking for 4 things tonight. Number 1, support all Bala Cynwyd students, including teachers, staff who are impacted, many of whom are anxious, scared, and traumatized. This includes the specific students and staff mentioned in the text message and all students and staff at Bala Cynwyd Middle School. The specific actions we request you take to support students and staff include moving a counselor from another middle school and the DEI director to Bala Cynwyd Middle School to support the school more directly by this Friday, conduct small group workshops with every school student by the end of the year, and hire a permanent dedicated 5th grade counselor to start next school year. Number 2, hire an independent securities firm to conduct a risk and vulnerabilities assessment of Bala Cynwyd Middle School by June 2023, with the report made available on the Lmsb website. And if true that the cameras at Bala Middle School are outdated and not all operational, we urge you to install new cameras this month. 3, revise the code of conduct policies with clear examples and consequences for specific actions, articulate them for all students regularly in a public manner, and institute the consequences with significantly more regularity and consistency. We feel that the school's declining culture and safety are a reflection of the lack of consequences for both minor and major infractions. And finally, number 4 includes school safety as an agenda item for all board meetings.
Thank you.
Abby Rubin, Rebecca Smolin, Rich Val.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Rebecca Rosenberger Smolin. I have a son who, God willing, will be graduating in a few weeks from Lower Merion High School. I live in Ardmore now, and I had been in Bala Cynwyd for years. So I'm here to share my thoughts on the recent fears for safety at the Bala Cynwyd Middle School, where my son had been a student 4 years ago. Based on my experience with misplaced fears for the safety of the school community nearly a year and a half ago, based on private self-defensive threats from my son on social media, which were taken completely out of context to create misplaced fear that he was a threat to anyone in the school community. That was never the case, not before the incidents, not during the incidents, and not afterwards. First and foremost, I want to say that my heart certainly goes out to all the middle school parents who are impacted by the fear of possible repercussions from private texts. This includes both the texter who appears to have wished harm to others and the family of the texter, as well as children and teachers on the so-called hit list and their families. I'm also sympathetic to parents who have been concerned that the texter is a problem to be extracted from the school for the safety and peace of mind of their children who are not directly involved in the texts. However, I urge those parents to more carefully take stock of how they would feel if other parents would take that stance with regard to their child, based on nothing more than presumptions about their child from a very cursory understanding of the relevant facts. I fully support the goal for other parents to receive more information if that is feasible. In my situation, I would have welcomed the opportunity to offer a joint statement disclosing relevant facts, but my understanding was that the administration was not willing to do that. I would encourage the administration to work with the families in this situation to provide a joint statement if that is possible. In fact, I think the administration should be required by a policy to offer families the opportunity to do that. I would also encourage the board to create a policy for addressing social media incidents like this. Parents need to recognize that children impulsively say all sorts of things they don't mean, as may some adults. I know that in high school, my best friend taught me that hate is a strong word that should not be misused when I told her I hated her while in the midst of some petty dispute. Just because statements are frozen in time and widely circulated due to social media does not mean that the child is any more of a bad person than I was when I told my friend that I hated her. I learned not to do that again. I don't think anyone knew about that besides me and her. Things have changed a lot since then. The policy should include getting statements from the families involved about the facts surrounding the statements and whether there are isolated incidents or repeat incidents. A clear and written narrative should be documented and circulated for review and comment by all the involved parties so that everyone is heard and permitted to show their version of the facts. I have a lot more to say, but I will respect the time limits.
Thank you, Ms. Small.
Good evening, everybody. I'm going to change the subject, at least for the moment. My name is Richard Tao, and I've lived in Ballackinwood for 16 years. My son graduated from Lower Merion High School last year. When I addressed this board for the first time 5 weeks ago, I had just visited Oakwell and fell in love with it. Ever since then, I can't get out of my head what a profound mistake it would be for our township to knowingly destroy part of our historic legacy. Let me say this as clearly as I can. I support kids playing outdoors. As a child, my son, here in Lower Merion, loved playing baseball and soccer on township fields. Other kids should have that opportunity, but not at Oakwell. Framing this conversation as kids versus preservation is a false choice. In a township comprising 23.6 square miles, or just over 15,000 acres, there has to be some other location where kids can play sports outdoors. And there has to be a better way to move forward than by perpetuating mistakes that my friends and neighbors are still learning about as I discuss this with them. It was a mistake to use nearly 10 million taxpayer dollars to seize land from Dr. Bennett by eminent domain, especially when Villanova University was a willing buyer and would have kept the property intact. It was a mistake to spend so much money for a handful of playing fields when those funds could have been put to much more productive purposes. It was a mistake to craft a plan to level a historic property, one with hundreds of mature trees, a celebrated mansion, and extensive wildlife. And I can't believe I actually have to say this next one. It was a mistake to purchase land where Dr. Bennett had buried his son Matthew's ashes and whose urn now needs to be exhumed and reburied. I wonder how many kids are going to want to play soccer where someone had been interred. The good news is many of you were not on this board when this purchase was made back in 2018. You have no responsibility for what was done, but you have a huge responsibility for what needs to be done. Thousands of your fellow citizens are petitioning you. Please listen to them. Please drop this plan. Please direct the superintendent to find another location for the playing fields. And please sell Oakwell to a buyer who will preserve it if you're not willing to treasure it and protect it yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kath Kurtz, Carol Virgin, Ann Foote, and then Holly Manzoni.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Betty Lee Davis, and I'm not familiar with the protocol and procedure here for speaking, so I don't know
just need
if I
the
needed to
town.
sign up or.
Yeah, so
I
Kath Kurtz
can
is
do
next.
that.
Well, we just,
I'm sorry, what's your name?
She's not in.
Did you sign
Dr.
up?
Betty Lee Davis, I
Okay,
am a Lower
so-
Merion.
Okay, so just, you need to come sign
Township
up.
resident.
and Kath Kurtz, you are a resident?
Yes.
Yes, so you can come over here, and Kath Kurtz is next, then Carol Burgeon, Ann Foote, Holly Manzoni.
Hello, I am Kath Kurtz, and I live in Narberth. And I'm here to ask you to reconsider again Oakwell and what you're going to do with it. There are so many other needs, obviously, in the school district for support staff, for programming, for DIA work, for anti-violence work. Why in the world would you spend $6 million on a playing field that would destroy so much when obviously funds could be spent for the benefits of all children, not just the 50 who might play soccer 15 weeks of the year in a beautiful place about to be destroyed. Please reconsider and spend the money wisely on other things the school district needs. Would we have more school bus drivers if they were paid for the 12 hours they're working? Instead of just the 8 they're actually driving? Reconsider what this money could be spent for the good of all children and all programs. Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Good evening. My name is Carol Bergen. I've been a resident of Rosemont for 47 years. I am before you tonight because of Oakwell. In October, I first became aware that Oakwell existed, and I'm embarrassed to say that because I am a resident. At any rate, when the shocking $22 million estimated for the project of Oakwell alone should motivate us to find a more economical situation. We need fields should in fact be, how do we get these fields without this amount of money? This became my motive for attending school board meetings. So I've been at every school board meeting since that October time. And I have been watching all of you to kind of assess your interest in Oakwell. 20% of Lower Merion families have students in school. It means 80% of us pay school taxes without having a student here. Our future, the country's future, is in the hands of the young people you are educating. It is important that they have a good education. That is the reason public schools were started in the first place. I do not mind paying taxes when they go for this education. I do mind paying for things which are wants and not necessarily needs. Fields at Oakwell seem to be an extravagant want. Some of the estimated millions spent on these fields might be better spent on the true needs of the district. Tonight we talked about buses and schedules and iPads for the bus drivers. A lot of areas that money could be more sensibly spent. The fields of Oakwell are not a fiscally responsible look for us. Residents have spoken, offering suggestions for efficient use of existing fields. Many of these ideas have been rejected. A more aggressive exploration is needed. Have we considered and discussed with financial incentives the local colleges? We all know Rosemont College, Cabrini College, Harlan College are suffering in terms of money, and Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Ann Foot, Holly Manzoni, Jason Herman.
Variation on a theme here. Hello, my name is Ann Foot. I live in Gladwin, and I'm going to convey a message that you've heard more than once. But school board, it just doesn't add up. It's off balance. It's financially and philosophically crazy. It is the Oakwell situation versus 3 other important issues which confront the school board. Oakwell, let's talk about Oakwell, should not require, what is it, 23, 10, whatever millions of dollars. 1, it's a limited usage for a number of days in the school year. It's a relatively small number of children compared to sports and the whole district population. It is not a lifetime issue. It's 2 years out of the kids' lives. Really serious sports-minded kids play in leagues, and they can't use it for physical ed classes. This isn't about tree huggers and about people not wanting sports. It's about the use of Oakwell. It's just a wrong decision to me. So the 3 things that it's up against, that it versus, in my mind, this is simplistic, I realize, but lifetime issues such as healthy start times are crucial to mental and physical health for a lifetime. Full-day kindergarten has a long-term effect on children. Well, it's well established that early childhood education is crucial to academic success. Transportation, that was just an incredible presentation tonight. I feel definitely I've learned something. But that money that's being spent or wanting to be spent on Oakwell could be allocated to for more buses if they need them, higher wages and benefits, and maybe a separate fleet of buses just for after-school sports things using the mini buses or whatever they are. It just doesn't add up. It just doesn't make sense that that money on Oakwell, when all these other issues demand financial and every other kind of attention. So what I'm asking you is to consider collaboration with the community who already, free of charge, has offered assistance, a gold mine of exhaustive research, legwork. These people, including students in the district, environmental preservation experts, people who have amassed amazing historical and architectural research, people who have spent money out of their own pockets for lawn signs, t-shirts, not only to just publicize the issues, but to make sure the public understands. So you pay consultants and lawyers, and it's time to really form a task force, get together, come to conclusions that are beneficial to all. So many creative people on the school board, in the community, different doors open. Open them together, do it together.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, I'm Holly Manzoni of Wynwood. Ms. Schaefer, I appreciate your general approach as you've taken the leadership of this school district. I like your start with why approach, and I like that this evening, knowing that there are intense and emotional issues going on in this school district, that you took the time to begin this meeting with some self-reflection, with an acknowledgement that there are some things this district can do better. You outlined some of those things: transparency, recognizing mental health issues, wanting to work with people and all that, and those are all great things. And I want to believe that you and your board really believe those things and want to make progress on that. There's a very intense issue that's been talked about tonight, very sad, tragic, and terrible. I don't see that it's really that different from Oakwell. What I see is a district that has lost its focus. You're a school district. You should be educating children. That should be your priority. But instead, you go running off trying to build athletic fields at a huge cost, draining tremendous resources from other things. And instead of working with us, instead of us all being on the same team, we present ideas to you. We present, well, what about this location? What about that? There's always some reason you can't do it. Oh, the buses are this or that, whatever. I don't get a sense that you really want to work with us. Listen to the kids. They had a huge thing out there on Friday, getting all kinds of attention. They've spoken to you before. They want to be heard. And the transparency is something that troubles me. In particular, I don't know if you're aware that Channel 3 did a little two-part segment on the Oakwell situation. And as part of that, they tried to be fair and balanced, and they spoke with school district representatives. I was very concerned about one of those comments given on behalf of the school district, which was in regard to the taking of Oakwell by eminent domain. It was said, would never have done it if the property had not been actively marketed. That's not true. Oakwell has never, in the 25 years that Dr. Bennett lived there, has it ever been actively marketed. It's never even been marketed. It has never been listed for sale. Maybe you guys haven't done your due diligence. I know that this was done by an administration prior to you, but you need to understand that Dr. Bennett, who's lived there for 25 years, has a close friendship with the head of Villanova. And as Dr. Bennett was getting older, he and the head of Villanova made an agreement. It was never marketed.
Jason Herman, Tanya Schreiber, Jan Terwish, sorry.
Jason Herman, Ballackinwood. Good evening. The district's primary responsibility is to educate and protect our children while they are at school. The district's handling of the recent anti-Semitic remarks, racist remarks, bullying, and text messages, threats, has been inadequate, and the community is losing trust in the district. First, more information should be provided about these incidents immediately after they occur, not days after. Legal and student privacy concerns should not limit the district's ability to communicate effectively to parents and the community when an incident occurs. As an attorney in practice for over 14 years dealing with these types of privacy issues, the district could do more to communicate with parents and the community. Second, saying shootings are rare and school is safe is not productive and does not protect our children. We need action. Has the district recently conducted a security and vulnerability assessment? If you don't know what that is, through a security and vulnerability assessment, an independent, professional security consultant conducts a thorough analysis of the district's current security measures and identifies all of the security vulnerabilities. This is done in person, and the consultant walks through every school. If the district has not completed a security and vulnerability assessment within the last 2 years, I would implore you to consider hiring a reputable security consultant that handles these types of assessments and conduct one. Then, make the appropriate and necessary upgrades to protect our children. You don't have to tell us the results, but at least disclose to the community that it's been taken care of. Third, based on the unfortunate school and mass shootings that seem to happen now on a regular basis, has the district considered following the national trend of hiring an armed guard for every school? Unfortunately, this is the sad reality we live in. However, more and more schools are moving in the direction to protect our children. Please take the necessary steps to protect our most vulnerable, our children.
Hi, my name's Tanya Schreiber. I live in Penwyn, and I'm sure no one would be surprised that I'm here to talk about buses. Last December, Lower Merion School District bought a new bus routing system named TransFinder. Tonight, there's a vote on a one-time $17,500 contract to help the staff enter some of the current legacy routes into the newly purchased TransFinder bus scheduling system. The legacy routes are the existing routes. The TransFinder consultants will enter the stops and destinations for 175 of the 600 routes, and the transportation department will follow along so they can learn how to enter the stops and destinations of the remaining 425 legacy routes for next year. The transportation department will complete this huge effort, as well as the training for this new program, on top of their all important day-to-day obligations. By choosing to pay the TransFinder consultants to enter only existing routes without ensuring all of the data is entered, we are leaving the most valuable parts of the system unused, with no timeline to when we will ever start using it. This new transportation system has amazing AI capabilities. You enter in the student addresses, the assigned schools, and any special needs, and the AI will suggest the most efficient runs. It will suggest the best locations for bus stops. It'll suggest adaptations for special situations and adjust stops and runs based on the ages of the students riding in each tier. It will learn over time and improve. But all of those benefits only start when someone takes the time to enter not only the legacy routes, but the student data. I know the details are complicated and it will be easier to delay the use of the AI optimization for another year or two, but the ripple effects for acting now are huge. Let's enter the student information and see what the system says is possible. Mr. Vilkins and his team have done absolutely everything that is humanly possible to optimize this system. The staff is amazing, but they're literally human. Look at the complexity of this transportation system, the fact that the staff is creating the routes in April and will spend the next 5 months manually adapting the routes as kids move in and out of the district. Don't we think if given the chance, TransFinder could find at least a few good suggestions? I'm asking you to consider hiring the TransFinder consultants to input all 600 routes plus all the student data this spring so we can see the improvements available through the optimized bus routes. Let's look at what this $58,000 system can do. The website has several testimonials and recorded workshops describing increased efficiencies and cost savings. While the facility subcommittee discussed the fact that there are many nearby districts that have not seen efficiencies from this system, they also said these nearby districts did not hire the consultants to help with the implementation. This system might allow the board to finally see if we can cut the 40-minute rundowns down to 35 or 37 minutes. If even 5 minutes could be found, middle school could start at 8 and elementary could still be dismissed by 4 p.m. Healthy start times has been a goal for this community for decades, and we finally have the technology to figure out how to save a few minutes. So I'm asking the board to please bring in the extra consulting services needed to get this operational.
Time is up.
Thank you.
Jan Turwish, then Adrian Seltzer, Barry Lee Davis, Julie Kine, and Mike Levine.
Hi, good evening. I always say it's starting with correction, pronunciation. Yes, Jan Turvish. All right. So I just want to say I'm very grateful for the direction of the
Please
school
let
board.
us know where you live.
Yes, Wynwood. Born and raised Wynwood. Went to Harriton, went to Ballackinwood, went to Penwyn. So back to the point Oakwell here, the kind of topping question. I've been very happy seeing directionally we've been trending, I think, in the right direction, right? We've kind of figured out ways with the polo fields. We've talked to different schools like JCC. And also we've seen different partners, Natural Lands, Villanova, really step up. They've collaborated. I've been working with both Natural Lands, Villanova, Save Oakwell. I've been talking to the students here who are both Lower Merion and Harriton who've been out there doing their Fridays for Future, their fire drills. And in all sides, kind of collaborating, integrating these into this cohesive vision, and that's one of education. I'm always kind of surprised when we talk about, build playing fields. I've been at the Oakwell site kind of giving up my Sundays for about, probably 10 weeks or so. Not as long as some people in the room. I know Deb and Foot, they've been out there much longer or from the beginning. And I've seen, there are fields and kids are there every weekend. Their eyes kind of light up. They're in awe. I saw yesterday, at the Bio Blitz run by Villanova, this was the identification of, 500, 600 species. I think that's where now, and that was in one day, seeing people photograph all of Lower Merion's finest specimens. And I would like that to continue. I know Villanova originally, I spoke with one of our kind of honorable district board members here, and they said, Villanova's original proposal was also, not quite as horticulture centered as we hoped, but now, Villanova has really stepped to the plate. The departments within Villanova have, rendered out quite the vision of what they propose to do there, and I think that would benefit more than just 50 students. It would probably benefit, 300, 400 students from our district, from Lower Merion School District. Many of these kids have never got to, scoop up frogs. That's, I think, one of my favorite memories of this is, seeing kids reach into the water and kind of pull these frogs up and kind of eyes kind of light up in delight. I kind of want that delight to continue. Just recently, in the last 20 seconds or so, Frank Miles' Day of the Structure, the horticulture complex, it's now a Class 1 historic registry.
Your time is up.
Thank you
very much.
Adrian Seltzer.
So is this the right time? Did I?
No, I'm sorry, Adrian Seltzer, then you're next, sorry.
Hello. Give me a second to bring this up. Where'd it go? Sometimes technology is a problem. Ma'am, you want to go next? Can she go? Well, I look. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I said third time's a charm, so maybe that's true. Sorry, I just am not familiar with the procedure here. I'm Betty Lee Davis, and I'm a clinical social worker who's lived in Lower Merion Township for since 1983, with the exception of a couple of years in a neighboring township. When I relocated to the area for the doctoral program in social work at Bryn Mawr College, and I have since
We just need to know what neighborhood you're from.
Since 2003, 2011, I have been very involved as a youth violence, as a public health epidemic, and trauma-informed education advocate. And I'm here tonight in response to what's happening at Oakwell. I also lived at Oakwell for over 12 years, so I am a former resident of Oakwell. And earlier today, or later in the afternoon, I did send a message to the school board and to administration in regard to something that occurred to me after attending the coffee conversations meeting recently, which is a different thought, I guess, about the potential use of Oakwell as a site for school personnel for the mandated trainings that have been required by Pennsylvania General Assembly 2019 Act 18. The students have articulated quite well their wish for that property and setting to be used for environmental education and wellness. And I fully agree with them in that request. I'm adding to it that there might also be consideration that in addition to the use for those purposes for students, it could also be used for teachers and other school personnel in complying with Act 18. In the letter that I sent to you all earlier, you will find in much more detail how that might be done and how it could be used in responding to secondary trauma, which is a risk for us teachers in particular, as well as other school personnel, when they're exposed to the trauma of others, their students. So in addition to its being a wonderful site, given that things have transpired in the way that they have, as others have spoken to the loss of that property for Dr. Bennett, there are some very exceptional ways in which it could be used for students and also for trauma intervention for teachers and training.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Okay. Second try, Adrian Seltzer Winwood. Hello, everyone. I do not envy you. One of the happiest days of my life was when I lost the school board election in 2017. I appreciate all your opening statements and Ms. Schaefer's email from yesterday. I do feel that communications about incidents need to be shared with parents much sooner, at least before the story hits the Inquirer. Annie Dennison and I run Stand Up for Lower Merion in Narberth, and we wrote this in our weekly newsletter and civic calendar that comes out on Sundays. There has been a report that fifth graders were sharing via text a list of who they would like to see killed in a school shooting. This is heartbreaking, especially on the heels of multiple racist and anti-Semitic incidents at our schools. These are cries for help that the school system and the public in general are not heeding. Students should know what is and isn't acceptable behavior in society. Their mental health should be our priority. We have been approached by parents who are upset by the lack of transparency, and I know that's a trigger word for you, but I'm going to say it anyway. The lack of transparency in these recent events. While we understand that the privacy of students must be respected, it is important that the community knows that these incidents are in fact taking place. We are not asking for any names. If we are not aware of these incidents, how can parents have appropriate conversations with their children at home? How can they have those appropriate conversations with their children at home? Good, I have another minute. When people know that a racist incident has happened, and if the parents don't know about that right away, but the kids hear about it, and then rumors fly. And that happens in adult communities too, not just with kids. But if the parents were notified right away, they could have conversations with their children and say that this behavior, how would you feel if this behavior was on you? This is not acceptable behavior in society. This is why it is so important, even if you don't give all the details, say there was an incident that happened that we're working on diligently, which you obviously were. But the fact you do not let parents know right away is inexcusable. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Seltzer.
Julie Kine, Mike Levine, and Ruth Jenkin.
That's Keeney, as in zucchini. That's all right. Hi, my name is Julie Keeney, and I live in Merion Station, and I've lived there for 38 years. We live in a time when our environment is severely impacted by climate change, from floods, droughts, fires, heat waves, ocean warming, and terrible storms. Other causes of climate change are clearing of forests for development and the extensive use of pesticides and herbicides. According to recent studies, entomologists have discovered that the world population of insects is down 75%. I was never a big fan of bugs, but I've come to appreciate them in recent years. They are the bottom of the food chain, but essential to life. The trees of Oakwell support numerous species of trees, birds, and animals, but also a lot of bugs. Saving the Oakwell environment will give us an opportunity to observe, study, and appreciate the ecosystem that exists there. P.S. We need trees for the air we breathe.
Thank you.
Mike Levine from Narberth. As a taxpayer whose son attended the schools here, I insist that the district not spend our $20 million to greatly damage the ecological, historical, and housing resources at Oakville, historically connected with Stoneleigh and eligible for the National Register. It would cause great harm, like destroying tree canopy, now more than 12% lower than in 2004, like harming 13 acres of habitat, like pesticides, fertilizers, and rain runoff to 3 watersheds that run into 2 rivers, like dismantling 2 historic homes and endangering a 3rd, a mansion by a famed architect likely to fall apart from disuse. More public cost. We need housing. Like loss of mature trees through cutting down or disturbing their shallow root systems. Mature trees store carbon and serve as complex habitat. Newly planted trees do not. Like destroying valuable history, which I won't detail here. For any new field needs, there are 2 sites now projected for use and many others which can be used or created through consolidation. The school board should respond to the list of 318 acres of opportunity compiled by taxpayers. Have you spent time at Oakwell? It is magical, and the students have such great ideas. It is worth saving. We could save development funds and can recoup acquisition funds. It makes no sense to spend your, our $20 million or more to ruin this awesome place for a couple of ball fields, a parking lot, and bathrooms. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I brought the Lorax, Speaks for the Trees. My name is Ruth Jenkins. I live in Wynwood. I have suggested several times that Lower Merion High School is a very vulnerable building. The students go in and out, and all we need is one disgruntled, disenfranchised student to go to his car and come back with a weapon. And this is the beginning, as you have a warning sign. All of the shooters in the history of this situation have all had writings. They've all had warnings. You have warnings that these children are serious. They're not just playing around. I think it's important that we pay attention to it. I also would like to suggest that you don't make any big decisions about Oakwell until we have a new board. And in May, we're going to be electing 5 new people to the board. And hopefully, they will be more sympathetic to Oakwell than this board has been. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jenkins. I just want to clarify that the election is in November.
We have one more person that would like to speak.
I said it was close because we have the chat sitting right.
Can I
It's okay.
Just to clarify, Ms. Jenkins, the primary is in May and the general election where we elect a new board will be in, well, half of the new board will be in November.
Okay.
Janine Stanton, Ballackinwood. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm not going to even take the full 3 minutes. I just wanted to say that I'm here to support all the families in the district that have students that are at school and are terrified. I'm disheartened by some of the actions that have happened with the board, the school, and the whole district in general. I felt that the parents had to really push to get more information. Some things that are very basic, like let's have a parent meeting and say what's going on. We had to, by force, send emails to the superintendent and copy the board, reach out to the principal, to the counselors, just to get a meeting. That's kind of pretty basic and generic response that we were entitled to. Additionally, we made recommendations around getting the students together and making sure that they're aware what's right and wrong, making sure they're safe. Again, we had to push for this. It may have been something that was in the works, but we wouldn't have known. And so I just urge you to please make sure that you're communicating to us and just, hear what we're saying. And we've made some very specific asks tonight. I ask, please, that you just consider those. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Brooks, can you please read the comments in the chat?
Timba Debnanyev, Villanova. Oakwell, the amazing, fascinating educational resource on our doorstep. Oakwell was divided from the original Stoneleigh property, now held in trust by Natural Lands Foundation for our people and future generations. Oakwell deserves equal appreciation and protection. The entire site of Stoneleigh and Oakwell site has great historic, biodiversity, and landscape significance. Does our Lower Merion School Board have the vision necessary to recognize and protect a priceless Pennsylvania resource? Our Pennsylvania Constitution would wish you to. The Constitution of Pennsylvania, Section 27, titled Natural Resources and the Public Estate, does guarantee the right of our people to the preservation of the natural, scenic, historic, and aesthetic values of the environment, now and for generations to come. How dare Lower Merion School Board presume to have the exclusive right to tamper with, degrade, threaten, and ultimately ruin such a priceless Pennsylvania resource in our time and for future generations? Dorothy Wright, Ardmore. Lower Merion School District's ill-conceived plans for auxiliary athletic fields for Black Rock Middle School and Oakwell have been a debacle from the outset. A multi-million-dollar property litigation and seizure, and a money pit into which the district will throw countless dollars for demolition, athletic facility construction, and maintenance, with severe environmental and quality of life impacts, and without clear justification of needs, costs, and alternatives. We paid Lower Merion school taxes for 30 years. We say not one more tax dollar for auxiliary playing fields at Oakwell. We support the use of those tax dollars to adapt existing athletic facilities at Black Rock for athletic field rental sharing, healthy start times, and all-day kindergarten, as well as experiential learning at Oakwell in the arts and sciences to benefit Lower Merion students of all ages, interests, and abilities. Thank you. Elizabeth Porter, Gladwin. I'm writing to express my opposition to the school district's plan to develop Oakwell and the adjacent Acorn Cottage property for playing fields. The destruction of these local treasures would be a tragic loss of valuable historical and ecological resources. I urge the district to continue to seek alternative solutions for the fields, listen to the many suggestions that have been put forward, and abandon your destructive proposal. Terry Cohen, Villanova. Why are you spending over $20 million for Black Rock Middle School students to play in school sports? Jackie Robbins, Bala Kinwood. I'm concerned about what happened and the transparency with which the district handled the situation. I'm wondering why the kids did not have a psychological evaluation before returning to school. It feels like you're protecting the students who wrote the text as opposed to the students who are victims of the situation. I also feel the district is not being transparent on protocols. I'm also concerned that the school did not address this until today. Stacy Perlman, Bala Kinwood. This is the district's opportunity to communicate to students, parents, and the community that publishing a kill list and making threats will not be tolerated. To allow these students back to school sends the wrong message and invites this kind of behavior in the future. The school district needs to draw the line now. Marion Williams, Bala Kinwood. The cost of 2 accessory fields planned to be built at Oakwell has been estimated at $23 million. Has the school district estimated the cost of the annual maintenance of these fields to be built on wetlands? As a resident, I'm horrified at the cost to be spent on fields for a small number of students for a short period of their lives for a limited period each year. Does the Lower Merion School District evaluate the equity of such support of sports compared to other activities and clubs? Diana Rogovich, Merion Station. Dear Ms. Schaefer and the board, I attended the BCMS meeting and left even more disappointed and upset than I was before the meeting. The meeting should have been called immediately and proactively by the administration, and we should have been informed of the severity of the situation. At this point, your #1 priority should be reestablishing the discipline and safety in all of our schools and increasing transparency in your communication. Everything else can wait. There needs to be a clear policy on what behaviors are unacceptable and how these behaviors will be disciplined. This policy needs to be made available to all parents and students in the district, and adherence to it needs to be strictly monitored. The latest events in BCBMs are just the tip of the iceberg. The constant fighting in the hallways, rude behavior, obscene language, and disobedient and disrespectful bathrooms need to stop now. That's all.
You said that was it? I just want to make sure. Just to try to respond as much as I can to the comments that were made tonight, particularly around Bala Kenwood, but acknowledge the number of comments that were made about Oakwell. And I think, as we've shared recently, we know that there's information that we've tried to share around our challenges and ensuring that we're providing opportunities for our Black Rock Middle School students. And we are challenged by the limitations that we're facing in terms of options, but we're not stopping our search in looking for alternatives, as we have with Polo Fields, which is continuing to be developed, and we're optimistic that that is a potential partial solution for us, and so. Again, I just wanted to reiterate, as we've said before, this is, we hear the voices in the community around that particular concern, and we continue to look for ways to address that concern that, provides solutions for everyone. As it relates to Bala Kenwood, and as I said at the beginning, of the meeting, I think, and as some people have commented, that there's work for us to do. I acknowledge that. I think what's important, and I hope we can do this together. I hear voices asking for that, and so part of my leadership style is to welcome that and figure out ways to do that effectively. I know someone made a comment the other night that I wasn't taking notes. I took notes tonight. I have the list, and of the requests. So we will be taking a look at that. We will certainly share that, our response to the board and then to the public around those specific requests. And I did want to note there was some question around the security and vulnerability assessment, which we have a report that was done in 2019. So we have a school by school security and vulnerability report that has been completed and shared with the board. That was 2019. And regarding generally transparency and notification, that certainly has been a theme. We've talked about it over the course of several meetings. Mr. Lee talked about our communications committee meeting recently, and I regarding this topic, but also more broadly, the topic of transparency, I think we do need to have, continue that dialogue, and it's really an important conversation we should have as a community so that we can do our best to communicate everything that we can in a timely fashion and work for ways internally to do that better. And so that is an ongoing work that we're doing as an administrative team, and obviously in consultation with the board as well. So we have work to do, and we will continue to reach out to the community through Mr. Hunter directly to the Ballard-Kidwood school community. As we know, his team needs support right now, as all of you do. So we are orienting our efforts in support of Ballard-Kidwood school community.
Thank you, Ms. Schaefer. So at this time, we're going to move forward with approving the agenda. I want to ask the board if there's anything that they would like to remove from the consent agenda. So do I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda via consent?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. So now do I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Ms. Brooks, can you please give a report on the Sunshine Act?
In accordance with the Act 93 of 1998, the Sunshine Law, the Board of School Directors met in an executive session on April 10th for information purposes only, and April 17th, confidential student information.
Thank you, Ms. Brooks. Upcoming board meeting dates, which are held here at 8 p.m. in the District Administration Office Boardroom. May 8th is Education Committee and Supplementary Regular Board Meeting, and May 15th is the next regular business board meeting. Committee meetings will be held in the boardroom and live streamed and recorded. Start at 8:30 a.m. unless noted otherwise. Important meetings to note coming up are on Wednesday, April 19th is the first of a series of Finance Committee meetings for this year. The second is on Wednesday, April 26th. Other upcoming meetings are the Curriculum Committee meeting on May 3rd. The Equity and Anti-Racism meeting, which will be at 7 p.m. in the evening via Zoom, is also on May 3rd. May 5th is the Policy Committee meeting at 8:30 a.m. May 10th is the last of the Finance Committee meetings. That'll be at 8:30 a.m. May 11th is the Facilities and Purchasing Committee meeting, and May 31st is the Communications meeting via Zoom at 7 p.m. There being no further business, this meeting is adjourned.